What did he say he needed the loan for?
To get a vehicle.
I thought that it was given to me because we were, like, really cool.
Do you understand how foolish that sounds?
Yes.
The only people that do that sort of thing, usually, as my great-grandmother would call them, bums.
This is Judy. Vanessa Howard is suing her former friend, Ontrell Brooks, for a car loan.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy.
Have a seat, everyone.
Kevin approaches the bench.
Hello, Judge.
Hello.
Case 2108, Howard versus Brooks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Howard, your case is simple. You claim a loan to the defendant for the down payment on a car.
Yes.
When did you make this loan?
March 24th of this year.
How much was it?
I gave him $1,500 and he paid $300.
Where did you take the money from?
I had it at my home.
In cash?
Yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a hairstylist. I'm an owner-operator.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's the sole source of your income?
Yes. I own a salon business. I'm opening my second one.
Tell me how you know the defendant.
He was a client of a former stylist many years ago, so I met him through the salon.
Did you have any sort of relationship with him?
At the time that I met, no.
No. At the time that you gave him this loan,
We were friends.
what did he say he needed the loan for?
To get a vehicle.
To get a car?
He was at Mercedes trying to purchase another car, and I knew he had a baby on the way, so I felt it was...
I want to know what he said to you.
He said that he needed help with the down payment. He was short some for a down payment on a car that he wanted.
Did you have that conversation on the phone or in person?
Yeah, he called me and asked me for originally $2,500 to help him with the down payment. And I told him, well, I don't know if I have that much. I'll see what I can get him. I had the $1,500. He came to pick it up at my home.
And that was on the 24th of March?
Yes.
When did you purchase your car?
I believe it was the 24th as well.
You have any paperwork for the car? What paperwork do you have there? I just want to see what you brought with you today.
Basically, the lien holder paper.
And what is that supposed to tell me?
I believe it has the date on there when I purchased it.
Okay. And how much did you put down on the car?
$9,000.
Did you trade in a car?
No.
Why did you need $2,500 from her?
I actually didn't ask for it. I just mentioned to her that I
No, well,
needed
just a
it.
second. I asked you a question.
Okay.
Why did you need extra money towards the down payment? Did it affect the payments? Did it affect the insurance? Did it affect the
yes.
premium?
Basically, the car, it was like $74,000. So if I was to put down a lower payment, like you were saying, the payment would be higher for the monthly. So if I put down a little more, it dropped it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she gave you $1,500, not $25.
Yes.
But she gave you $1,500.
Yeah.
And she gave that to you around the same time that you purchased the car. Were you current in your insurance payments on the car?
Yes.
And then you crashed the car.
Yes.
And the insurance company paid the lien holder on the car.
Yes.
Made the payout.
Yes.
So you didn't get any money from
No,
the insurance.
no.
So now you have no car, right? I don't know if you have a car
I
now.
have a car, yes.
Well, you got another car.
Yes.
What kind of car did you buy?
Tesla.
A Tesla. And how much did you pay for the Tesla?
I put down like $8,000.
Where'd you get the $8,000 from?
I work, I have a place where I hold traveling nurses.
Did you take the money out of a bank or did you have it in cash?
I had it in cash.
The $8,000.
Yeah.
How much money do you make from this business that you have?
It varies depending on how many nurses I have staying there.
So you own the property, or do you manage the property?
I manage the property. So it's basically housing nurses or people that travel for business.
And how long have you had that business?
I've been doing that for maybe a couple years now.
That's how you support yourself?
That, and I do training as well, fitness training.
Okay, so now you paid back $300 of the $15, right?
I gave her $300.
Right, and when did you give her the $300?
I'm not quite sure the date, but
Give me a month.
I'm not quite sure.
When did he give you the $300?
May 17th.
Okay.
Tell me why you gave her back the $300.
I gave it back to her because she basically...
Not basically, this is basically.
Because she kept asking for it. So just to get her off me for a second, so I gave her $300. Just I didn't feel like I owed it to her because I thought that, you know, it was given to me because we were like really cool.
Just a second. Okay. All right. Well, Miss Howard,
He
Miss
can't
Howard.
be serious.
Miss Howard,
Yes, ma'am.
how long have you been operating your 2 salons?
I'm opening a new one now, and the first one was opened in 2012.
Do you live with anyone?
My children,
How many kids do you have?
I have 3.
How old are they?
I have a 17, 18, and 21-year-old.
Big kids.
Yeah, college and high school, yes.
Who supports them?
I do.
From
Their
your
father
work?
helps too, yes.
From your work. Do you live with their father?
No.
No. But he also helps. with
Yes,
them.
he does.
And you sound like a really intelligent, put-together woman who's had her own business, who's got 3 kids, college kids,
Yes,
moving forward.
yes.
Why? Why do you think, I know that you work, because if you're a hairdresser and that's your source of income, you work really hard. It takes a long time to accumulate $1,500. I'm sure you get some tips and stuff. That's the cash that you keep.
Yeah.
So you work hard and you've got 3 kids who need money. He wants to buy an uber expensive car and he wants his payments to be lower. So he says to you, not that he needs it. See, he doesn't need it to get a car. He wants it to make his payments lower.
That's not how he presented it to me.
How did he present it to
He
you?
said he needs help, he needs the money for the down payment, and he told me that, the situation, his car got taken away or whatever, and
His car got what?
his previous vehicle was taken from him.
From how?
I don't know what
What
the
kind of a
situation-
car did you have? Before you bought the BMW?
That's what it was. It was a BMW.
Oh, and then you bought a Mercedes?
Yeah.
Okay, so you bought, sorry, I got that confused. You bought the Mercedes using some of her money. Before that, you had a BMW.
Yes.
Okay, and now you have a Tesla. Do you understand how foolish that sounds?
Yes.
You don't want to sound foolish.
Well, like I said, he's had a baby on the way any day now, and my compassion for the situation, I was like, okay, I'll give you that. And I know he's had a source of income. It's not like I've ever known him not to have an income. So I felt like, okay, he'll do right by me. Of course, he didn't, we see.
Do you know how many people stand in exactly that spot and say, I trusted him, he gave me this story, he gave me that story?
Yes.
And what I'm telling you is, most of the people standing there, for some reason that has always baffled me, are women.
Caption coming up.
Any guy who takes money from you to lower his car payment and buys a car for $75,000, the only people that do that sort of thing are untrustworthy. Then you change the contract and you said, not acceptable. You're behind $500 and a late payment will only be acceptable with a current payment. Is there anything about that in your contract?
There's not.
Okay, so if it's not in your contract, it doesn't exist.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Van Ness and Antrell.
Van Ness Howard claims her former friend, Antrell Brooks, owes for a car loan.
Most of the people standing there, for some reason that has always baffled me, are women.
Yeah.
Very rarely do I have guys standing there and say, she asked me for this, and so I knew she had a baby on the way, and I felt sorry for it, so I gave them money.
Right.
Most of the time, they say goodbye, which is what you should have said. And
Absolutely.
you appear to be much too fine a lady, and
Thank you.
a hardworking lady. Don't give anybody
No more.
any guy who takes money from you to lower his car payment and buys a car for $75,000 and asks you for $1,000 or $2,000, knowing that you're a working gal and that he didn't need it to buy a car. He could have bought a car for $50,000. Could have bought a car for $30,000.
Right.
Likes to drive fancy cars with somebody else's money, okay?
Yes.
So the only people that do that sort of thing are untrustworthy, usually, as my great-grandmother would call them, bums. So I would suggest that you be smart in the future. You're a hardworking lady. Hold on to your money. If you want to invest in anything, invest in your children's future. We're done here. Judge for the plaintiff.
This court is adjourned.
Mr. Brooks took my money with no intentions of paying back.
I thought it was, she gave it to me.
Oh, car crashed, my tires got slashed.
I thought it was a gift because she really liked me.
Don't let men borrow money.
Judy and Sarah.
Lovely woman, hardworking woman. She's going to have a chain, as Dolly Parton would say, have a chain. Going to have a second salon. On the other side, you have somebody with zero judgment.
He's well-versed in other people's money.
Why? A perfectly sensible bright woman would take money that she worked really hard for and give it to somebody that she hardly knows?
Women have to be smarter.
The women have to be smarter, worry about themselves.
Yeah.
Case 2113, Pickett versus Glick. All parties, please step forward.
William Pickett is suing his former friend, Clinton Gick, for unpaid car payments and vehicle damage.
Mr. Pickett, you and the defendant, according to what I've read, were friends. You knew each other.
Yes.
You had a car that you were interested in selling. The defendant was interested in purchasing the car. Your car was 10 or 11-year-old vehicle,
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
When had you purchased it?
I purchased it about a year or so prior.
So you only had the car for a year. You were not an
Short
original
amount of
owner.
time, yeah.
Did you pay cash?
I did.
How much did you pay for the car?
Roughly $10,000, $10,000.
No, I want to know. I mean, you came to court today, not a roughly. Today we know the numbers. We're not talking about something that happened 20 years ago, something that happened a year ago. You bought a car a year ago. You paid cash for it, according to you. I want to know how much you paid for it. That's easy. You should have those records.
10,000.
Well, now you say 10, right?
Yep.
Now you say 10. So now I'm going to tell you to go outside and get me the bill of sale for the car.
I did not bring that.
Why?
I didn't think I needed it.
How am I supposed to ascertain what you paid for the car, sir?
I didn't think about that.
Should have thought about it. I thought about it right off the bat. You had the car for 1 year. And when did you sell it to the defendant?
3/18 of 22.
For how much?
$10,000.
Well, then you're a genius businessman, because unless this 10, 11-year-old car, Mr. Pickett, had something really unusual about it, most cars depreciate the moment you drive them out of a lot. You bought this car from a company, which means you paid more for it than if you purchased it through a private person. You understand that?
Yes.
Of course. So there was clearly a markup. Sarah, take a look at a 2012 Dodge Charger with 148,000 miles.
I got it. Between 7,500 and 10,000 for a private party sale.
Okay, so as I thought, the value of the car went down from when you bought it, but you sold it to him for $10,000 because he was making payments, I assume because he was making payments. Did you have a written contract?
I did.
I'd like to take a look at it.
William hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
Mr. Glick, how did you know each other, sir?
We worked together. We'd known each other for about a year, I think, at the time the car was sold.
Okay, so the first thing was he traded in something of value, which was he gave you a car.
Correct.
What kind of car did he give you?
Honda minivan.
Did you have the title to that?
Yes, I did.
Did he turn over the title to you?
He did.
What did you do with the Honda minivan?
I sold it.
To whom?
Someone off of Facebook Marketplace.
Okay, when did you sell it?
A few weeks afterwards,
How much did you sell it for? How much did you say you sold it for?
$1,000, $1,200,
Let's get specific, Mr. Pickett.
$1,000.
I'm not exactly sure what he sold it for, but clearly acknowledges at least $1,000. So this is what the lawsuit is about, and I've read your contract. According to the contract that you have here, you listed the dates, the schedule of payments, and you marked off when he paid and when he didn't. But we're going to go through the dates, and your lawsuit seeks damages to the car, repo fees, the unpaid contract price of the car, because you repossessed it and you want him to continue until he's finished paying for it, right? That's what you want.
Yes, ma'am.
And the defendant has a counterclaim. And his counterclaim, in effect, although he doesn't articulate it in legalese, the basis of his countersuit is that there was never any meaningful breach of the contract, and that he tried to make his payments pursuant to the contract, and that you repossessed the car without just cause, and he's counterclaiming for the money that he put into the car as equity. That's what your counterclaim is.
That's
correct? Okay. So far, you put in $4,000. According to this, he paid you March of 2022, April. As a matter of fact, he made 2 payments.
Correct. Payment schedule was for every 2 weeks.
6/17, he made a partial payment, but made that up on 7/1, so he was up to date. Then you say on the 15th of July, he missed a payment. Did you miss a payment the 15th of July?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Tell me why.
At that point, the plaintiff had already threatened to repossess the car several times before I'd ever missed a payment on the car.
Because you made a partial payment once in June.
Yeah, and also...
But then made it up again within 2 weeks.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so you had already said to him, you missed payments, I'm going to repossess the car.
I informed, I didn't threaten to repossess it.
No.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you missed a payment on July 15th.
Yes, and I informed him when I missed the payment that the reason for missing it. He had just filed for bankruptcy, and with his bankruptcy and the threats to repossess the car, I had decided that I wanted to miss, as it states in the contract, that I could miss 2 consecutive payments before repossession. I wanted to talk to a lawyer and make sure that I wasn't going to be putting even more money into a car that
That you weren't going to have equity in.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's why you missed July 15th.
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
and it's the 29th of July also missed.
Yes. So I attempted to give Mr. Pickett a $500 payment on the 29th. He refused to accept that payment, and I have that in text
I'd like to see it.
messages.
I'd like to see it. Do you acknowledge that he attempted to give you a payment on the 29th?
Yeah, he attempted to make a partial payment.
He attempted to give you $500.
Correct.
Clinton hands a document to Kevin.
And tell me why you didn't accept the $500. He missed the payment on the 15th.
I informed him on the 16th that I would not accept a late payment unless it's in conjunction with the current payment.
You can't change the contract, sir. You can't change a written contract.
Caption, coming up.
There was a loan on this car.
Yeah, there's a title loan on it.
Oh, you didn't tell me that. That adds a different wrinkle to this whole thing because you told me you paid cash for the car, so I assume there was not a problem.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, William and Clinton.
William Pickett claims his former friend, Clinton Gick, owes for car payments and vehicle damage. Clinton is countersuing, claiming William sold the car under false pretenses.
Now, you had a written contract with him. If you're changing the terms, he has to agree to the terms in writing in the same force and manner of the original contract, which is this in writing signed by both parties. You have a contract here. The contract says he can't miss 2 consecutive payments. He wasn't missing 2 consecutive payments. He missed July 15th, and he tried to give you one on the 29th of July. If you refuse to accept it, he hasn't missed 2 payments. You refuse to accept the second one. Got it?
Got it.
Kevin brings a document from Clinton to Judy.
Okay, well, I see the interchange, Mr. Pickett, and the interchange clearly says you're paying your $1,000 today or returning my car. He says, I'll be giving you my $500 payment that's due today. Then you changed the contract and you said, not acceptable. You're behind $500 and a late payment will only be acceptable with a current payment. Is there anything about that in your contract?
There's not.
Okay, so if it's not in your contract, it doesn't exist, and you had so far no reason to repossess the car. Did he try to make a payment to you in August?
I think one other time between the time I repossessed it.
Okay, well, you had no reason to repossess it so far unless he missed 2 consecutive payments or unless he failed to keep insurance. Did he fail to keep insurance?
I have never been given proof of insurance.
This doesn't require that you are given
I don't know
proof
if he
of
has
insurance.
or not.
This doesn't say you require proof. Did you have insurance on the car?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Through whom?
Erie Insurance Agency.
Okay, and you have no information to the contrary?
I don't.
Okay, fine. So at the time you repossessed the car so far, Mr. Pickett, you didn't have basis under your contract to repossess the car.
There was also other terms that I believed he had violated.
Well, let's hear them. So far, he didn't miss 2 consecutive payments. Had you filed for bankruptcy?
I had started filing for bankruptcy, yeah.
Is that completed?
Still hasn't been discharged yet. I think I have another month or so.
Was this the first time you filed for bankruptcy? Buyer misses 2 or more consecutive payments. Buyer fails to maintain full coverage under insurance. Any significant damage to the vehicle that is not repaired in 30 days. Did you notify Mr. Glick of any damage to the car? Give him notice and say, pursuant to the contract, it has to be fixed in 30 days?
We had talked about it when he came to drop off one of his payments, and he said...
Well, give me a month.
It was...
A month and a year.
It was in June.
June of 2022, he came over to drop off a payment, and that would have either been on June 3rd or June 17th.
Correct.
Okay, and tell me about the conversation.
I said, hey, there's a dent in the front now. He said he'll get taken care of. At that point, I didn't really inspect the car because...
Well, I don't care what you didn't do.
Yeah.
I want to know what you did.
Yeah, I told him, it needs to be fixed. And he said he'll get taken care of.
Okay, and?
When I repossessed it, it was still there, as well as more damage.
Okay. Did he talk to you about the dent in the front?
I don't recall that conversation ever happening. There was text messages sent to me about damage to the car. The car had dents and dings all over it when I got the car. I mean, the front bumper even had significant damage to it.
You repossessed the car at the end of August. Where is the car now?
At my house.
What's it doing at your house?
I was just sitting there for the moment.
Well, what's your intention to do with the car?
Give it up in my bankruptcy or repair it and keep it and pay it off.
Who has the title?
The title loan company.
So there was a loan on this car?
Yeah, there's a title loan on it.
Oh, you didn't tell me that. That adds a different wrinkle to this whole thing, because you told me you paid cash for the car, so I assume there was not a problem. When did you take out a title loan on the car?
I took out the title loan.
Month and year?
One of them was in December of 21.
Did you know that there was a title loan taken out on this car?
I knew that there was one. I didn't know that there were multiple. I don't know if, but yeah, I did know there was a title loan.
Did you know in what amount?
No, I was never.
Well, that's pretty dumb of you.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, because if you're buying something free and clear that he owes nothing on, that's one thing. How much was the title loan?
Roughly $6,000 is what was owed on it still at that point when he bought it.
How much did you pay off?
A few thousand by that point. It's super high interest.
Okie dokie. Mr. Pickett, your claim against the defendant is dismissed. I'm now entertaining his counterclaim. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You get stuck with this car. Now, problem is, you drove this car.
Yes,
Was it your primary source of driving the car?
Yes, it was.
Okay. For 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, Mr. Glick, this was your primary vehicle. How much do you think it would cost you to rent a car per month? Per month. Give me a figure.
To rent a car
Yeah.
per month, I would say $900 a month, probably something like that, $900,000 a month, maybe.
Okay. Based upon what you told me, it's not so egregious because you had the use of the car for 10 months. I actually don't think that an 11-year-old car would cost that much to rent, $900 a month, considering that you also paid for your own insurance.
Correct.
And if you rented a car, that the insurance would, of necessity, come with a car. Sarah, could you look up for me best deals on leasing a Dodge Charger? I don't know what that is. Is that a truck?
It's a car.
Is there a site where you could look that up?
I'll see what I could find.
But the intention was that money was going to go towards, something that I would own.
Well, I understand that,
right.
but you had full use of his property for 10 months.
Sure.
You don't think it's fair for you not to pay for some of that use?
I would think the depreciation in the car for the mileage that I put on it would be more than fair. Absolutely.
Everything depends on how much you put down versus how much you pay monthly, so there's a wide range.
Give me the range. He didn't put anything.
$786 a month, $843 a month, but these are for brand new Dodge Chargers, not for 2012.
Oh.
So.
Okay. And according to you, the current low price on this car is $7,500 price.
For a private party.
For a private
yes.
party, low price, $7,500.
Yes.
So you're going to resell this car, and the car is currently in working order, and the low price on that car is $7,500, right?
Yes.
And he's already paid you $5,000.
Yes.
In order to break even, if you sold that car, all you need is $2,500.
Correct.
So I think that it's more than fair to give you credit for the $2,500 from what you paid.
Okay.
You paid $5,000. Half of that seems to be a more than reasonable figure to have full use of his property, and he repossessed the car. I don't think he had any basis to repossess the car, which is why he dismissed his case. And you certainly don't want to get involved with bankruptcies and payments, so you don't want this car back, because getting this car back will be more trouble for you than anything else.
Exactly.
I absolutely understand that, because then you're dealing with his creditors and whatever. I'm not trusting that whole situation. In any event, I don't think that you paying $2,500 towards the rental of the car over a 10-month period is unreasonable, and then he's whole. Then if he wants to spend money to have the car spruced up before he sells it, well, maybe he can get $8,500 for it, and then he's whole. So now everybody's happy. Judgment on the counterclaim for $2,500. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
I'm very happy.
Need a car, I had a car.
I don't think it was an honest transaction on his part.
I'll keep buying and selling.
So yeah, I think he was just trying to get a quick payday.
Sarah and Judy.
So I just want to make sure I have this right. The defendant was paying the plaintiff $1,000 a month towards the vehicle that the plaintiff had a title loan out on, but instead of paying off the title loan so the defendant would have the car free and clear,
Right.
he decided to keep the payments and not pay off the title
loan. Correct. Which means that even after he completed the payments, which he was halfway finished with, he could not have gotten clear title.
Yeah.
Because the title is with the loan company. And he's filed for bankruptcy, so you can't come against him. Slick.
Yeah, sticky situation.
Yeah.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
After you stopped working for him at the theater, you contacted the authorities.
Yes, ma'am. He admitted to giving one of our 19-year-old employees alcohol.
That's not accurate.
A plaintiff glares at the defendant.
Don't look at each other. I'm actually the nastiest one here.
This is Judy Justice. Noah Joyner and Harland Hendrickson are suing their former employer, Christopher Ricks, for unpaid wages and vandalism.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Case 2094, Joyner Hendrickson versus Ricks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that I'm going to start out with Mr. Joyner. Who is that? That would be you, because we start with you. He came in later to this scenario, is that right?
Right.
So let me try to understand, Mr. Joyner, what it is that you're suing the defendant for, considering what you wrote to me in your complaint. You were looking for a job. Whatever business you had went south, and you didn't have any money.
That's not true.
Well, let's see.
It was said like that, but we did not lose a...
After losing my jewelry business,
Yes, ma'am. That's not right.
well, that's what you signed in
Yes,
your
ma'am.
complaint.
Yes.
So I can only go by what you signed in your deposition. That you lost your jewelry business, that's what it says. In any event, you were looking for a job. The defendant has a theater,
Yes, ma'am.
among other businesses.
Yes, ma'am.
And you sought out the defendant, Mr. Joyner?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me how you sought him out.
I was vending at a coffee shop. I was vending my jewelry. It's not a lost business.
Would you just get on to
Yeah.
how you met him?
Definitely. So I was vending there, and I saw at the theater Pride Weekend. So I had called Chris Ricks, said, hey, is it okay if I come up there and vend my jewelry?
Just a second. So you called him. Was his name on the poster? How did you find him?
I just called the theater's number, and he answered.
Okay, so you weren't calling him, you were just calling the number.
Yes, ma'am.
So you asked him, can I come and sell my jewelry at your theater? When was that?
That was Wednesday, June 16th, 2022.
Okay, and you were having some sort of an event?
Yes, ma'am.
Did Mr. Joyner come and set up his jewelry booth?
They did, in fact.
Were they charged for that?
No, I
Nothing.
did not. I
So-
just simply offered the space. They kind of told me their backstory and that they were having financial troubles, and I was trying to do a good deed for the community.
Okay, so you were not charged for the space?
Right. Yes, ma'am.
And you went up there on what date to sell your jewelry?
We started Thursday night, June 17th, 2022.
When you say we, is that you?
All three of us, yes.
Okay, so did you sell any jewelry?
A little bit.
So not much, not enough for the three of you spending a day on the
Yes.
17th. And then how did it come about that you sought out a job from Mr. Ricks? Because you did seek a job. On what date did you ask him if there was any work?
Thursday night. Thursday the 16th.
And what were you supposed to do?
Supposed to bartend, open, close.
That's not accurate.
I'll get to you.
And
What
run
were you
concession
supposed
stand.
to do?
And run the concession stand. Bartend, close, open, and run the concession stand.
During what hours?
4 p.m. that day till 12 a.m., 1 a.m. that night. Could not really remember.
Okay, and did you do that?
Yes.
And you weren't selling your jewelry at that time?
I was going off and on. So anytime he had called me for a different job, I would take that. Sorry.
So the answer is you were doing both.
Yes, ma'am.
So you were doing your own business and doing whatever task Mr. Ricks asked you to do.
Yes, ma'am.
That was on the 16th. And did he pay you for that work?
Yes, he ended up
And
paying
just a
us.
second. And how much did he give you?
Gave us $264 for that weekend.
Not we.
I gave me $264 that week.
Did he work that weekend?
Yes, we all three worked that weekend.
Doing what?
Everything.
Well,
We
Mr.
opened.
Hendrickson is not suing for any wages from him other than for the painting that he did later. I'm asking you, what did you do for him and when, and how much did you get paid?
I did opening, closing duties for him. I ran a
For
bar.
how many days?
4 days, Your Honor.
4 days.
In the beginning, but I did
Just a-
pick up more stuff whenever he called me for more opportunities. So he would be like, hey, we have jam band tonight. So I would say, okay, I could work.
Okay, so you worked, say, until June 20th, you said, for 4 days, and then you would work after that period of time?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you stop going to the theater for the purposes of doing anything for Mr. Ricks? Month and day?
Oh,
One of the things you're supposed to have, Mr. Joyner, when you come to court, and if you're suing for wages, is you're supposed to have it right here, right in the front of your brain. What date you started, what date you stopped, what hours you worked, what you did. That's what you're supposed to have. Do you understand? Okay. Mr. Ricks, on what date was the last date you saw Mr. Joyner at your theater doing anything?
Saturday, June 25th.
So it would be a fair statement that certain days you saw him between the 16th of June and the 25th of June.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you told me about the 16th that you started working part-time because you were back and forth between your own business and doing something for him, for which actually he gave you free space to sell your jewelry. Now, when you go someplace, you usually pay for space to sell your jewelry, right?
Right.
Well, I mean, I know that because I've had hundreds of cases involving people who rent space in a theater or under a tent or in a yard so that they can sell their jewelry. He gave it to you for nothing.
Yes.
And you're back and forth doing little errands for him on the 16th. Like what? 16th, while you were selling your jewelry. Tell me what you did.
We worked the jam band for them that night.
Not a we. I don't want to hear a we.
I worked the jam band that night. He has like a jazz band that comes in and performs.
And what do you mean you worked?
I worked the concession. I opened, closed, bartended for him, anything that he was calling me over to do.
No, that's a little too loosey-goosey for me.
No, I can tell
That's a
you
little
exactly.
too loosey-goosey for me. Okay, let's go. What did he do, if you remember, on the 16th?
On the 16th, 17th, and 18th, that's when they had their jewelry set up. He did not work my concession stand at all. He did not work for me that time at all.
That's not
he
true,
started
Your Honor.
working.
Don't speak. Do not speak. Do you see I asked you questions? He was quiet. Now it's his turn to speak. Now you have to be quiet. You understand?
He worked Sunday, June 19th, from 9 to 2, which was 5 hours. That was brunch. He worked June the 22nd. They were late. They arrived at 3:12.
You said they arrived.
Both of them came that day.
On the 20th.
On June the 22nd.
22nd. Mm-hmm. Was that the first time that both Mr. Joyner and Mr. Hendrickson came together?
To work for me in a theater capacity, yes.
Okay. That's incredible. And that was June 19th?
No, that was June the 22nd. But actually, I misspoke. I apologize. They both worked June 19th for brunch. They both worked June the 22nd. On June the 24th, he had a text meltdown, and then he came to work and worked 5 to 9. I have their hours exactly.
5 to 9, and that's just Mr. Joyner or both of them?
They both came on June the 25th, Your Honor.
And worked from when to when?
On the 25th, which is Saturday, he worked from 5:20 to 10:30. He passed on the concession opportunity where he could have made more money.
No, but he worked doing what?
He trailed me. I was trying to teach him managerial type cash in, cash out, et cetera, and the business situation of the theater, because that's what he proposed to me that he was educated to do. And so
you mean managing a theater?
Yeah, just kind of helped me with open, close duties, overseeing that tasks are done by the other employees, et cetera.
Okay, so it sounds as if he and Mr. Hendrickson worked for a limited number of days.
Correct.
How many days in total?
In the total project, which is painting.
No, not
just the
painting.
theater. Just the theater.
Just in the theater.
Joyner worked 4 days at the theater, and Harland worked 3 days at the theater.
Okay, and how many?
4, I beg your pardon.
4.
Yes, ma'am.
Your last day of work, that was the 25th of June?
Yes, ma'am. At the theater.
I'm talking
18.
about only at the theater.
I think he worked 18 hours, just at a quick glance here.
18 hours during the 4 days.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Hendrickson, how many hours did he work on? You don't have anything in front of you, Mr. Hendrickson, so I assume you have nothing. No physical evidence, is that right?
Correct, Your Honor.
All right, good. How many hours?
Just under 12, actually.
Say 12 hours. So one worked 18 hours, one worked 12 hours. Do you have any data to indicate that those hours are wrong?
No, ma'am.
Okay, great.
Caption coming up.
There was no actual documentation, like we did not have a clock in, clock out, but the 18 hours is not correct, though. We have
Just
no
a second.
data.
You have no data.
Right.
He does.
It's not actual fact. It's not fact.
I don't know whether it's factual. How do I know? You're supposed to keep track.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Noah, Harland, and Christopher.
Noah Joyner and Harlan Hendrickson claim their former employer, Christopher Ricks, owes for unpaid wages and vandalism. Christopher is countersuing for damage to his apartment complex and slander.
Okay, how much were you paid, Mr. Joyner? Because part of it is your wages that you're requesting for working in the theater. How much in total did Mr. Ricks pay you?
$264.
That's for the theater work.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much, Mr. Hendrickson, did Mr. Ricks pay you?
$204.
Sarah, do math for me, would you please? 18 into 264 and 12 into 204. Now, on what date, Mr. Joyner, because this is where it gets sort of fuzzy to me. So far, this is what I'm getting, that the three of you were trying to start a business that was marginally successful in selling jewelry. So far, do we agree on that?
Yes, ma'am.
And as part of selling your jewelry, you approached the defendant, and it was really a cold call. You called a regular number, not Mr. Ricks personally, and told him your story. And he said, well, if you want to come down, I'll give you free space to sell your jewelry. And that was within his theater area.
Yes, ma'am.
So you would say that was very nice of
Yes, ma'am.
him. And you worked for him, and he showed you the place, he showed you the books, he showed you started to do other things. Now, at some point, this is where I go a little fuzzy with you, Mr. Joyner, and maybe you can help me understand you. So you have someone who's been nothing but nice to you so far. On what date did you file a complaint with Alcohol and Beverage Control?
That was July 5th, 2022.
So let me figure this out. So you worked for him at the theater until June 25th. On July 5th, is that what you told me?
Well, after the 25th of June, so we had kind of like a weird period where we were trying to figure out if we still wanted to finish the apartments for him. And
No apartments. We haven't gotten to the apartments yet. I'm going to get to the apartments because he asked you to paint apartments. You went over there, and that's another part of your lawsuit. Just a second. Sarah Rose?
Yeah.
How much did Mr. Joyner make per hour?
$14.60.
Minimum wage.
And Mr.
It's
Hendrickson
11 in Arkansas.
What?
would be 17 an hour.
And he made 17 an hour.
Correct, for
Okay.
12 hours at 200.
But there was no
Those
actual.
hours are not
Those
correct,
were there was no actual documentation. Like we did not have a clock in, clock out. But the 18 hours is not correct, though. We have
Just
no
a second.
data. We
Just
have
a
no
second.
data.
You have no data.
Right.
He does.
But there's no it's not actual fact. It's not fact.
I don't know whether it's factual. How do I know? You're supposed to keep track.
Yes, ma'am.
You're supposed to keep track.
We're not the business owners.
Just a second. You want
Of
the
the
money.
theater.
Right now, he's paid you more than the minimum wage for being around. I mean, the theater ran for how many years before they worked for you for 6 days?
Been about a year and a half. I bought it during COVID.
Okay, and this was your first time working in a theater.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so you had no fund of information. He wasn't paying you for expertise. He was paying you for those few days, and you were following him around, opening, closing a stand, whatever you were doing, and you were paid more than the minimum wage, which is, I assume, more than you made selling your jewelry for the 3 days you were there.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Right.
Okay. I'm still going to wait for this answer, because at some point after you stopped working for him at the theater, and after you had mulled over some information that you thought you had acquired while you were working for him, I want you to do a step-by-step why you contacted the authorities, because he does have an alcohol license, right? I assume if you have an alcohol, if you contact, don't look at each other. Just look at me. I'm actually the nastiest one here.
Agree.
Well, so alcohol beverage control. So what information, sir, did you give alcohol beverage control that caused the investigation?
Your Honor, he was not the one that called them. I was.
We both called. So what happened during the time that we were working those 4 days, he would serve other people alcohol. He would get on our asses about IDing people, how to sign the papers for ABC, everything. And I made sure to take a picture of the number. I didn't take a picture of the whole document itself.
What are you talking about? What document?
The ABC paper. Whenever we had to sign the paper saying that if we didn't ID someone and the ABC came in and found out about it, we would be fined and we would be held responsible, not Chris. We had to sign those papers.
Okay.
For that stuff.
So you signed the
but
papers.
during that, after we signed that, we noticed Chris was still giving out free alcohol to people, pouring it, wasn't even checking people's IDs. So I called the ABC and I said, I think there's suspicion that he's giving minors alcohol. Because there were people there that were 19 years old that were coming up to us saying, oh, well, yeah, we're 19, but we're cool with Chris and stuff like that in ways. Like they had a way with Chris or whatever, friends with Chris. We just started working there. We don't know the regulars. We don't know what the life is like.
I'm just trying to think of why you would do that for somebody who was, whether I believe you or not, forget the loosey-goosey of what you just told me. Maybe he said,
We actually have a recording that he admitted to giving one of our 19-year-old employees alcohol. Because he said...
And? Just tell me, and? I want to know why you called them on July 5th. You were no longer there. Did that have to do with the painting? Was that before or after you started painting?
That was after we started painting.
Of course it was after you started painting. Now, so let's go to the second part of your lawsuit. Second part of your lawsuit involves the work that you both did for him. You have an apartment complex, Mr. Ricks.
Correct.
And that apartment complex contains how many apartments?
20. I bought it as a rehab.
And they,
it was completely vacant. And
at the time that you asked them if they wanted to paint it, it was vacant, all 20 units?
Correct.
Tell me, how did you approach Mr. Ricks, or he you, about this house painting job?
We were trying to get away from all the stuff that we were seeing and hearing at the theater. So we asked if he had other jobs for us, and he said he had apartments that needed to be painted last week, and that if we could get in there and finish them, great.
Okay, now I'm going to come back to what you just told me. You just told me that you saw things at the theater, that he served somebody that you know who was 19 alcohol, and that was very distressing to you. So distressing that you said to him, do you have any other work for us?
It wasn't just that
Just a second.
instance.
Just
no,
a
ma'am.
Caption, coming up.
How many hours did you work on each of those days, Mr. Hendrickson?
I do not remember the hours for the days, but I calculated all the hours together, and it was 52.
Well, then you know how many hours you worked.
Technically, yes.
What do you mean, technically, yes?
Whitney grins. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Noah, Harlan, and Christopher.
Noah Joyner and Harlan Hendrickson claim their former employer, Christopher Ricks, owes for unpaid wages and vandalism. Christopher is countersuing for damage to his apartment complex and slander.
Okay. Did he take you over to paint the complex in handcuffs? Did he take you over there in a van? Did you ask him for additional work?
He's the only person really in Hot Springs, Arkansas that we felt like we could relate to and feel comfortable working for.
I asked you a very simple question. Give me a very simple answer. Did you ask him for more work?
Yes.
And did he say, I have an apartment complex that needs painting?
Yes.
And did you agree on a price?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the name of the last person that you did painting for? House painting?
I did it for my parents when we built our house, but that's...
Very nice. I also painted a room once in my dining room when I was 24 years old. I actually thought I did a pretty good job. I would not hire myself out as a house painter, but because I painted my parents' living room when I was 12. So the answer is you had
The reason why he was asking us to paint, because he couldn't find someone else to paint for him, because he wasn't paying people.
I didn't ask Noah to paint.
Shh.
That's correct.
Just a second. Sir.
I was not asked to paint.
Sir.
No.
Mr. Joyner, you know what your problem is? Your problem is you were dissatisfied with what you saw at his theater. And then you went, and now I'm speaking. You were dissatisfied with what you saw at his theater. While you were there, working at the theater, you did nothing about it. Zero. Even if it was true, you did nothing about it.
We didn't want to lose our jobs at the time, Your Honor.
You didn't have jobs at the time. You stopped working for him on the 25th of June. You didn't call alcohol until July 5th, you said, so you were no longer working for him in the theater. So it didn't start to bother you, really. June 22nd, June 23rd, June 24th, June 25th, the 26th, the 27th, the 28th, the 29th,
correct, Your Honor.
30th, all the way up until July 5th.
The ABC report was not just filed by me, and it wasn't just on July 5th. There was also another instance where it was filed earlier, but that was with them, and there's no evidence about it.
Just a second. You filed July 5th.
Yes, ma'am.
Now you're going to tell me what happened with the painting, because you finished the painting kerfuffle happened in July, right?
Right.
And it was after the painting kerfuffle that you called alcohol beverage.
Yes,
after the painting kerfuffle.
Well, it was during. It was during.
What?
It was during, kind of, almost.
you're getting the feeling that
It
I'm
wasn't
not
just me that
you're
filed
getting,
the report
you're
with
getting,
ABC.
Well, just a second. You mean one of these other people who was also
Harlan
jobless?
filed.
I don't care.
So we shouldn't have-
Nobody
we
was
shouldn't have
filed.
reported it at all.
No,
we shouldn't have
no, I'm
reported it?
trying to get to your motive, sir. If it was so abhorrent,
My motive?
Hey,
I have no motive.
Speak,
I am just owed
don't try to speak
work
over
for.
me. Don't try to speak over me. That
No, I'm trying to
doesn't
fight for what I'm
work.
owed.
So far, you're not owed a thing for the theater. Now we're getting to the painting. I'm just trying to see what motivates somebody. And I'm not excusing the fact that if Mr. Ricks serves alcohol to minors, that's not a good thing to do. He can get into real difficulty. And they conducted an investigation as a result of the calls.
Absolutely.
All I have to ask you is this. Do you still have your liquor license?
Absolutely.
Okay. Was it ever revoked?
No. And I've had multiple in the state of Arkansas.
So you're not owed any money for the theater. Now we're going to get to the paint. When did you start painting in the complex? Date.
June 27th, 2022.
6/27. Did you paint there 6/28?
Yes,
Did you paint there alone or with Mr. Hendrickson?
Mr. Hendrickson.
Is that correct, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you paint on June 29th?
Yes, Your Honor.
Your Honor.
Did you paint after June 29th?
No, Your Honor.
So you painted there for 3 days. Is that correct?
Actually, 5 days that I was there. I started on the 23rd.
I was there for 3.
And did you work the 23rd?
I worked the 23rd through the 29th.
Just
7 days.
23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th. So you worked weekends.
Yes.
It's not.
Did you work weekends?
I worked the 23rd through the 29th, 7 days.
Well, 7 days. Just a second. Pay attention to me. 7 days includes a weekend,
Yes.
Saturday and Sunday. Did you work
Yes.
Saturday and Sunday?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Not Sunday.
I'm going to go back to you. Did you work Saturday and Sunday?
I worked the morning of Sunday, and I left 3 hours
All right.
after getting there.
Okay, so forget Sunday. Now, how many hours did you work on each of those days, Mr. Hendrickson?
I do not remember the hours for the days, but I calculated all the hours together, and it was 52.
Let me understand what you just said to me. You don't know how many hours in each day, but you calculated them together and came up to 52 hours. Would you repeat what he said to me? Because it's mind-boggling to me.
He said, I do not remember the hours for the days, but I calculated all the hours together, and it was 52.
How do you calculate all
sorry,
the
I have anxiety, Your Honor. I
Let
just
me
need
ask
to be able
my
to speak.
question, sir. How do you calculate up to 52 when you don't remember how many hours you worked each day?
Looking at the text messages and seeing when I got there and when I left, because I texted him when I opened the doors and when I locked up.
Well, then you know how many hours you worked.
Technically.
What?
Technically, yes.
What do you mean technically yes?
Because they're not completely correct. I didn't text him right when I got there, and I didn't text him right when I was leaving. I texted him when I got home or after I had started.
Okay, let's go back.
To be continued.
Title: Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
While we were living there, he harassed me every day.
You could have moved.
He started arguing with me in front of my 11-year-old kid. He made him cry. He is a monster.
But you stayed there.
I deserve my deposit back. I deserve my deposit back. That's all I know.
That's why we're in court.
This is Mary Totsekian is suing her former landlord, Kazi Ahmed, for a security deposit, invasion of privacy, and harassment.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Case number 2047, Totsekian versus Hamad.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You had a house.
Yes.
Where?
In Sun Valley.
When did you purchase the house?
I purchased it 4 years ago.
How much did you pay for it?
We purchased it for $585, I believe.
And you sold that house to Mr. Ahmed, what month and year?
We sold it in, I believe it was January.
Of 2022?
Yes.
And you sold it for how much?
$574,500.
Where did you move to?
I moved to Palmdale.
Did you buy something else?
Yes.
And Mr. Ahmed, you took a mortgage out?
Yes.
How much is your mortgage?
I bought the house February 15, 2022, not January, and I pay for it $710,000.
So you paid $710?
Yes.
Not $574? Does that sound right to you?
Yeah, I might not be remembering the exact amount.
Well, that's a big, not exactly. 574 to 710 is a big difference.
Yeah, it was 710.
In one
yes.
case you lost money. In one case, you made money.
It was 710. I apologize.
Okay, so 710.
Yes.
Yes, honor.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How much is your mortgage payment each month?
5,100.
Okay, and when you sold Mr. Ahmed the house, you didn't have a place to go, according to your complaint, and you asked for a rent back.
I was in escrow.
But you didn't have a place to
Yes,
go, whether
correct.
you were in escrow or in an igloo in Eskimo, it doesn't mean anything. You didn't have a place to go.
Correct.
So you asked them if you could stay in the house and rent it from them. How many people are there in your family?
My family, it's 3 kids.
So who was living in the house? You,
It was
3
me,
children?
my husband, and I have my 2 sons that are with me. My daughter doesn't live with me.
So you asked if you could rent the house back for a few months. He was nice. He said yes. How much rent did he ask for?
He asked for $4,000.
He asked for $4,000?
Yes, for 3 bedrooms, he asked for $4,000.
Your Honor,
He never,
no.
Just a second. He asked for $4,000 even
That's
though his
correct.
mortgage was $5,100?
$4,000. I paid a whole total together with everything with security deposit, and I paid $12,000
No,
altogether.
no, no. That's not what I'm asking you, with security deposit. That's what we're here for your security deposit.
Yeah.
I'm asking you, how much did he originally ask you?
$4,000 was the.
Okay, well, that was pretty generous of him to ask for $4,000, considering his mortgage was $5,100, and he doesn't know you from a hole in the wall. So that makes him a very nice person to rent it back to you so that he's at a loss every month of $1,100. Do you understand?
Yes, I do understand.
Great. And what you're doing here is you want your deposit back.
Yes, that's correct.
$4,000. And Mr. Ahmed says that not only did he have to spend $4,000 to fix the damage you and your family caused to the house while you were living there for those few months, but he had to spend an additional $6,000. That's what he says. He had to spend an additional $6,000 because the place was destroyed, because you had a disagreement with him over the date that you were going to be receiving your deposit back. That's his claim. So there were a couple of things that were sort of questionable to me.
I
Madam.
have not damaged, though. I have pictures of the house when I left.
Just
there
a
was
sec.
no damage.
That's a fine.
Lot.
You're going to show them to me.
Okay.
The one thing that I found strange, so now I have the facts straight. So you moved into the house in February?
In the house?
Yes.
Yes.
So you rented in February and March?
Yes.
2 months.
We moved out April 6th.
Okay. Now, you told him you were moving out, and he came to the house to do an inspection. And that was before your move-out date. On what date did you meet together for him to go through the house? And let me refresh your recollection. You came to the house. He walked around with you. And at that time, he said these few things need repair. And there was not extensive damage anywhere. And when he got to the house, he rang the bell and he opened the door and you looked through the house.
Yes.
On what date was that? Do you remember?
The day that I gave him my keys to the door.
No, that's not the date you moved out. That's the date that he came there to do a walkthrough with you, your husband, and or children. I don't know who was there. And
Your Honor, he made a lot of walkthroughs.
no, I'm
made, like,
asking the last one that he
The
made.
last one?
Yes.
The last one he did, I don't remember the exact date, but he had
Well,
like 4 or 5
Do you remember
walkthroughs.
the date? What was the date?
March 23.
And when you went to the house on March 23rd, and they had been living there February, all of February, and most of March. Was the house in pretty good shape on March 23rd? Was it in the same shape on March 23rd when you saw it on April 6th?
Yes, because when I saw the damages of my house, I request her, what is this? I show her.
No, just a second. What did you show her?
About the floor damage, wall damage, and there is...
Oh, well, show me on the pictures that you took on March 23rd.
He probably damaged it himself from his construction that he did.
Just a second.
He did construction while I was living there. For the whole 2 months I was there, he did construction.
You know what I find problematic in both your complaint and
I would
answer?
like to pass my evidence.
Just a second. I'm going to tell you what I find difficult in both your complaint and his answer. That when you left the house, you took the doorbell with you. When you left the house, you took the doorbell with you. Now, he bought the house. He's paid you for the house. You've got $710,000. On the day the house closed, there is no question in my mind that there was a doorbell. Okay. Do you understand?
Yes.
You have no right to take anything from that house once it's sold. You're a renter.
Your Honor, I believe I do, because on the document it says the only thing that I'm supposed to leave for him is the washer and dryer and stove.
That, madam, that's something. Have you never bought property before, or are you just trying to be obtuse? I would never think I bought and sold dozens of homes. Never in one contract, in all, and I'm a lawyer, my husband's a lawyer, grandchildren are lawyer, my children are lawyers. Not in one contract does it ever talk about a doorbell. It is assumed that you leave the doorbell, that you leave the toilets, that...
No, that was not a doorbell, it was a Ring camera.
I don't care if it was a Ring camera, I don't care if it was an MGM camera or a universal picture camera. It's not yours. It's part of the property. You have no right to take it, period. Put your hand down. You know, sometimes when it doesn't appear that you're losing, you're supposed to be quiet. Do you understand? You have no right to take certain things. Once the house is sold, nothing there belongs to you. Nothing. You're a renter.
That was before the house was...
Just a second, are you telling me that when you stayed there, after the house was sold, for the 2 months that you lived there, are you telling me you lived without a doorbell? Are you telling me that you lived without a doorbell? No, you lived with a doorbell.
It's a Ring. Your Honor, it's a Ring camera.
I don't care what it is.
It was not the doorbell. It's not the doorbell. It's a Ring camera. You can replace. You can take it off and take it to your next property. That's something that I bought.
You bought a lot of things in that house, I'm sure. Did you buy wallpaper? Did you buy flooring? Did you buy carpeting? You can't take it. It doesn't belong to you. It travels with the property. When you say it's a Ring camera, when you ring the doorbell, does that activate the Ring camera?
Yes, it does.
And when you took out the whole Ring camera, did you put in a doorbell?
The doorbell was already there. I never touched the doorbell. That's why I took the camera, the Ring camera, because that belongs to me. I bought that. I didn't touch the doorbell. That's part of the house. That's part of the property. It's in the wall.
Can I see a picture of what she took?
My doorbell is not here. Here is the point.
I did not touch the doorbell. Again, he did a lot of remodeling. He probably did all the damages himself. He's trying to blame it on me.
Mm-hmm. No, that's You're not allowed to take it. Period.
I have a lot of evidence.
You're not allowed to take it now. So I'm starting with your case. You want your deposit back.
Yes.
This gets deducted from your deposit. Did you replace this?
Not yet.
Did you get an estimate for its replacement?
Yes, I did.
I'd like to see it.
Okay. And not only doorbell, Your Honor. She took the curtain rods and also all the light bulbs.
Just a second.
Okay. Give me some time.
I don't have time.
Can I please explain what really happened and what I went through with this guy from day one?
No.
He let me rent?
Right here.
No.
Because I want to prove my case because he's wrong and he's a crook.
No. Madam, you rented the house.
Yes.
For $4,000 a month.
Yes.
A 3-bedroom house.
I paid him
amount. And you paid him the amount, and you stayed there. If there was something wrong with the house, or if you didn't like the fact that he was doing construction there, or he was coming in and out of the house, even though he was renting it to you for $1,100 less than his mortgage payment, okay? You could have moved.
Your Honor, let me just tell you that he promised me from day... He kept texting me over and over, bringing renters to show my side of the place to live. While we were living there, he harassed me every day by text messages and phone calls. Can I show the house? Every single day.
Who cares? I don't care.
But that caused a lot of tension to my family.
I don't care. Move.
Caption coming up.
She intentionally damaged.
Don't tell me what you intentionally did.
Sure, this is the damages picture.
I didn't do that.
I'm going to dismiss your case. Do you understand? 1, 2, 3. It will be my joy.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Mary and Kazi.
Mary Totsekian claims her former landlord, Kazi Ahmed, refused to return her security deposit and harassed her. Kazi is countersuing for vandalism.
Now, if you didn't like to live in a place where you were being constantly harassed, you and your husband now have a $110,000 profit from selling your house.
I gave him a $10,000 discount on that property. And he
did you understand what I just said to you? Move. Say, listen, it's not working out. You're bringing too many people in and out of the house. It's not working for me. Wait just a second. We'd like to move out before. Did you ever say that to him? The answer is no.
Because I had a lease with him.
Did you ever?
Just
a second.
Yes.
Did you ever say that to him? I would like to give you your property back earlier. We don't need it for 2 months because I don't want to be harassed. We're going to move out into a hotel until our house is ready. But you stayed there.
No, I told him that we can't keep having people come and knock on our door.
Okay.
I made it very
Madam, you're not getting compensated for that. You're a big girl. You made a lot of money on this house. You asked for a deal for him to rent it back to you. He said, fine. He's going to tell me that he wanted to have his mortgage covered, and you were not prepared to do that, and you were not prepared to do that.
Your Honor, let me just tell you, the living situation for that 2 months that I was there was hell with him. He caused me all kinds of anxiety. The last day when I was supposed to give him the keys so I can leave, he opened the door and started arguing with me in front of my 11-year-old kid. He made him cry. He caused a lot of trauma to our family.
Your Honor, her son was not there.
He's a monster. He doesn't care about anything else. And then he did remodeling. Now he's trying to get the money out of me to pay for it because he's broke. That's
okay. First of all, this comes off the deposit, and then I want to see the estimate.
Kevin brings documents to Judy.
All I want is my $4,000 security deposit.
Well, I'm not sure you're going to get it.
His rent on time, just like a good renter.
Okay.
But all I wanted was my deposit back. That's it.
On March 23rd of this year, when he came to do an initial walkthrough with you before you were leaving, did you discuss deposit? The answer is yes.
I made it
just a second.
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
And at that time, did he say to you, this needs fixed, this needs fixed? Did he say anything to you? Nothing. Did he tell you that he had, by law, 21 days to return your deposit?
Yes.
Okay, and what did you say to him?
I said, that's fine, I will wait the 20 days, but he
No, just a second.
Yes.
You said it was fine. I'll wait the 20 days.
Yeah, to get my deposit, yes.
Okay. And then what happened?
I have every text that we sent to each other.
I'm not reading every text that you sent to each other. I'm asking you after March 23rd. Go to your March 23rd texts.
I do have here.
He basically said
basically. I said go to your March 23rd and thereafter
I highlight, Your Honor, for you.
After March 23rd.
Yes.
Go to your, do you have text messages? That's
yes,
what you said. You're looking at me.
Okay. I have a March 23 here. He led me on in the text messages saying that you help me pay my mortgage, I will help and give you a security
I'm asking you to show me the text messages after March 23rd.
This is the March 23rd.
And thereafter, you pay deposit back when there isn't any damage to the house. You don't use my deposit for anything else. You hold it for damages. Here is the notice. I would like you to meet with you and your husband. Please let me know when you are available. Please don't threaten me with my deposit.
I wasn't.
He was threatening me.
I wasn't interested.
Please don't threaten me. You mean threaten me with my deposit. Can you show me where on the contract it says the washer and dryer stays?
That I found it stays, and we did leave it there.
She tried to take with her that too.
Again, Your Honor, I'm just here for my deposit because I did my responsibilities and paid the rent. I was a good tenant. I kept the house beautifully clean and everything. I deserve my deposit back. That's why I'm here. I don't want to deal with him. I don't want to see him ever again. I just want my deposit.
I know what you want.
That's it.
That's why we're in court. If he felt as if you deserved your deposit, he would have given you.
And if I left the house perfect, he needs to give it to me because I didn't do no damages to that property.
Okay.
He's lying.
Can you show me where the contract says the washer and dryer stays, because I don't see it? I made it very clear to everyone that I paid for it, that it's going with me.
That was before I looked at the document.
Just a second.
Yes.
So that's before you looked at the document?
Yes.
When did you look at the document?
I looked at it, it was at home when I noticed it.
Did you respond to him after the 23rd and say to him, I realized that the washer and dryer stays?
No, because he's been threatening me constantly. Why am I going to respond to him? He's been a monster.
Can you please show me photographs of what the house looked like?
He's been a complete monster,
show me
Your
what,
Honor.
just a second. Show me what the house looked like on April 6th.
This is the pictures I have. This is what it looks like. Perfect
Just
little house.
Don't speak. Just show me.
I'm just trying to say that I'm not here for anything empty. I'm here for my deposit.
No, that's not what you're here for, just your deposit, madam. That's not what you filed a claim for. An invasion of privacy and pain and suffering. There's a whole bunch of things that you're suing for. Okay, I see these pictures
The house is in
And just a second.
great shape.
Just a second. And is this your little dog?
Yes, it is. The house is in great shape. He has no complaints.
He's going to show me pictures. I'm going to look at them.
I deserve my deposit back. That's all I know. He wasted my time. He lied through me.
Can I see your photographs of what the house looks like? So,
Your Honor, this is the picture when I bought the property with good condition.
Okay.
And this is the picture for she intentionally damaged.
Don't tell me what you
that.
intentionally did.
Sure, this is the damages picture.
I didn't do that.
Shh. I'm going to dismiss your case. Do you understand? 1, 2, 3. It will be my joy. Anybody who takes out a doorbell ring or whatever it is and leaves holes and mollies in the wall, which is exactly what you did, just like the washer and dryer. Okay.
Your Honor, this is the previous.
Don't speak. Okay. Now I'd like to see the photographs that you took April 6th or thereafter. When did you take those photographs? On what day?
I start March 23rd to April 6th.
I'd like to see the photographs.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Kazee hands photos to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
You know, some of this damage, sir, that were in the door hinges, that's not damage that they did. That's not damage that I can ascribe to them. There are some holes in the walls. I know you're showing me this. That you have to deal with.
Caption, coming up.
I sold my property to him as is. I did have tenants there. I'll tell you right now.
No, I want to know what rent the tenant was paying you. That's a number, not a story.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Mary and Kazee.
Mary Totsekian accuses her former landlord, Kazee Ahmed, of keeping her security deposit and harassing her. Kazee claims Mary vandalized his house before she left.
Okay, I don't know what this is that you're showing me in this picture.
Because there is a water leak from there. So the water goes in the cabinet inside.
Okay.
Okay.
I assume that you have some sort of insurance because they didn't do this damage.
Okay.
They didn't do this damage when they were there. I would like, sir, to see some of the pictures before and after. This is moldy and it's dirty. So they didn't clean the bathtub. Where are you living now, sir?
With my mom.
And who's living in the house?
I rented out.
What's the name of the people that you rented the house to?
It's Walter.
When did you rent it? On what date?
I don't remember exact date.
Well, you'll remember. You remember everything else. You remember April 6th. You remember March 23rd. Now remember what day they came.
Okay. June.
So actually the house was, just a second, so actually the house was unrented for about a month and a half.
Right. Because I...
Shh, not a because. Now, how much did you rent the house for to Walter?
$4,000.
Could you explain to me why you're renting it to somebody for less than what you pay in your mortgage?
Sure. So here is the American dream, because I came here 2013 and I started live with my mom. So me and my wife working so hard to buy the house. We save every penny day by day, and we saw a lot of house last couple years.
I'm not, listen, don't tell me your life story. I want to know why you're renting the house for less than your mortgage payment.
Because, no, the people is very nice, and they said they're going to increase the rent January. They give me $5,000. That's why.
Do you have a lease with them?
I do.
You have a lease with them. And
Yes.
does the lease indicate that the rent is being raised in January?
Yes.
What?
That whole thing that he said that his place was not rented for a month, that's a lie, because he was renting the place out while I was living there. So he had renters all in the backside.
Just a second, you mean they were living with you?
They were living in that back house. That house is split with the wall, so there's empty rooms in the back. So he was literally renting it out, boom, boom, like right away.
Just a second.
While I was there.
Is what you're telling me that there are two sources of income from that house?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. Mr. Ahmed.
Yes.
Listen to me carefully.
Sure.
How many tenants do you have in that house?
3.
Shh.
Oh.
Look at me.
Sure.
How many tenants? You have Walter,
Yes.
and he pays you $4,000.
Yes.
You have another tenant.
Yes.
Okay, and the other tenant is in the back.
Yes.
And what does the other tenant pay you?
Okay, the one...
Nope, that's a figure.
Oh,
what does
okay.
the other tenant pay you? Don't look up there. You know exactly how much?
$3,000.
$3,000. So you cover your mortgage, and you make a little money.
Yes.
Now, while she was living there, pay attention.
Yes.
While she was living there, were you renting the back?
Yes.
Yes. And how much were you getting?
Okay.
That's a number. Before you answer the question, think. How much were you getting from the people in the back?
Same.
Same what?
Because that's not my...
But just a second. What do you mean the same? The same as what?
The people used to live there long time with her. That's her tenant, not mine. She just transferred to me.
I see. So you had a tenant living in the back.
Yes.
You had a tenant living in the
Your
back.
Honor.
And what was the rent that you were charging your tenant?
I sold my property to him as is. I did have tenants there. Yes,
Yep.
I did. And one of the tenants, I'll tell you right now,
No, I want to know what rent the tenant was paying you.
That's what I'm saying.
Just give me that's a number, not a story.
1,000, and I would say 2,000 altogether.
Sounds to me as if everybody did very well. You have to pay for the doorbell. Now I want a receipt for the doorbell. The rest of the pictures are nonsense. And you had no loss of income. Just a second.
Yes,
I want the estimate for the doorbell. That's what I want. That's going to be deducted from the... Put your hand down. Otherwise, you're gone. Do you understand? Doorbell. Estimate.
$84.
$84.
Yes, something like that.
Do the math for me. I think it's $3,900, whatever. $4,000 less 84.
$39.16.
$39.16. Sir, I've looked at your photographs, and I don't see any damage that you can ascribe to the plaintiff that I think mitigates in your favor, other than the doorbell, which I actually find outrageous.
Right, Your Honor.
And you had no loss of income. So clearly what you did was purchase this house, and you make an income from this house every month.
After I pay my mortgage, and there is a service, like expenses, and also there is a like utilities bill is so expensive now.
I don't care. $39.16. Judgment for the plaintiff. Your counterclaims dismissed. We are finished with this case.
Right.
Goodbye.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Mary then Kazee.
I deserve my security deposit back. I did very well with paying the rent, and I feel like this was fair.
I'm not happy about it because I'm the buyer and I bought the house. There is a lot of damages after she moved out.
He was pretty much texting and having renters come and knock on my door every day without even giving me a notice ahead of time.
I was always giving to her 2-3 days notice to go in the property.
It was not easy, but you know, we moved on to something better, so.
She's still living in the American dream.
Judy and Sarah.
You know, this case is sort of an example of you read a complaint and you read an answer, and you sort of have a predetermination of what the case might look like and how that shifts. Because when I originally saw these people, I said, you know, she took the doorbell and the ring thing with her. Why? And it was with the washer and dryer. She said, I'm taking it. It was in the contract that it stayed. But then when I got to know both of these people, Sarah, they were both a little bit of hustlers. Nobody told me up front that there was a back apartment that they rented. And I said, why was this guy being such a good guy?
Yeah. And he didn't say, well, actually, I'm not that great of a guy. I rent the backside and cover my expenses.
I rent the back for $3,000, and it all covers his expenses. They actually, both of them, deserved each other a little bit. He didn't deserve another $6,000 in addition to the $4,000, because I didn't see that much in damage. I mean, you looked at some of the pictures.
I saw some of the photos, and it looked like
holes, you know, from pictures in the wall.
But not like what he was describing in his answer, like punched holes in the wall and ripped up flooring. We didn't see any of that.
There was nothing. Anyway, she made a lot of money.
He's doing just fine.
And he's doing just fine.
Title, Judy Justice.
Are you a victim of a scam? Go to Judy.
See your right hand.
I'm moving my arm as I walk.
That is a lie.
Somebody else was keying his car in the back.
Yes.
This is a lie.
He yelled at me. It's very unnerving.
That was a lie.
If you say again it's a lie, I'm going to dismiss your case. Do you understand that?
This is Judy Justice. Zachary Martin is suing his neighbor, Nancy Morrell, for property damage after his car was vandalized.
Judge Judy enters.
Court come to order. All rise.
She takes her seat behind the bench.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin approaches.
Hello, Judge. Case 2151, Martin versus Morrell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Martin, you and the defendant are neighbors.
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been neighbors?
Moved into the subdivision in 2019.
That's how long you've been there?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know how long the defendant has been there?
I think 2014.
Is that right?
2017, Your Honor.
Oh, okay.
And where do you live in respect to one another? You want to go over there and show me?
I live in this house right here. Or I did. I don't anymore. This house right here. And
Just-
she lives right here.
You sold your house?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and the defendant
She
lives
lives right here.
where the blue car is?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
A diagram of a neighborhood.
That's sort of a circular area, and from the circular area, you pull into your driveway. Is that right? Okay. It is your claim that the defendant keyed your car.
Yes, ma'am.
And when did this happen?
January 22nd, 2022.
The defendant says that she did not key your car. She has a counterclaim. She claims that she was falsely arrested and held overnight in jail.
That is a lie.
But just a
Okay.
That's her claim, that she was falsely arrested, that she spent a night in jail. She had to hire a lawyer, did hire a lawyer after her lawyer requested several adjournments. You were not, at least physically, in the courtroom at the time of the last adjournment, and the case was dismissed. So let's go back to prior to January 22nd. I assume that if you're alleging that the defendant keyed your car, that you have some negative history with each other.
Yes, ma'am.
Starting when?
There are so many. I mean, it started out when we moved in the subdivision. They were nice at the beginning, no issues. And then the kids started having, her granddaughter lives with her.
Okay, how old is your granddaughter?
She's 9 now. She was 8.
Okay.
They started out having some issues, as kids do. I mean, you know, that happens.
You have a child of a similar age?
Yes, ma'am. She's 11 now. She was 9 or 10 when we lived there.
And the two children had an issue?
I mean, you know, kids argue.
No, I understand that. I'm not going into who was right and who was wrong in the kids' argument. I don't really care. But when did that argument between the two children spill over to the neighbors?
Well, I guess the final straw was Labor Day weekend of 21, the Sunday before the Labor Day. We came home late. It was about 7 o'clock. We were working, and we told Jillian we were going home for a little bit, and she said, I want to swim in the pool. I said, all right.
Jillian is your 10-year-old?
Yes, yes. And of course, she said, well, that's boring, Daddy. I want a friend to swim with me. So I said, okay, one friend. That's it, because your brother's going to watch you, and then we're leaving to go back to work. So she goes next door to Patrick's house, which is the next door neighbor, and she asked Patrick to come over and go swimming. He comes over. At the time, I didn't know this. At the time,
At the time, the defendant's granddaughter was there.
Yes.
At Patrick's house.
yes,
Got it. So your daughter went over and invited Patrick
right,
to come and swim.
right. And not,
You had told her that she could have one friend in the
Right.
pool, so Patrick left to come swimming, leaving your granddaughter alone.
well, she had to go home.
She had to go home.
Yes.
She came home.
So
and-
just a second. That's what happened. Okay, you had a grandchild who had hurt feelings. I assume
She
had
actually
hurt.
went over to go swimming. She thought she was invited too.
You had a
And-
child with hurt feelings.
And I went to ask what had happened.
Okay.
That's this big hoopla.
Okay, now your grandchild comes home. I assume she was upset. Was she crying?
Yes.
Okay, and that was about what time?
In the evening. I honestly can't remember.
Okay, and when she came home crying, tell me what you did.
Went out and, honey, what's wrong?
What did you do?
Are you okay?
Yes, and she told you what happened.
Said I went over to Jillian's. She invited us swimming. And when I got there, her dad said only one person could swim.
Okay,
So she came home.
okay, and what did you do next?
That's not what happened.
I talked to her, calmed her down, and I went over and said, hey.
You know, just a second. You walked from your house, where the blue car is.
Yep, around the corner.
Did you take your granddaughter with you?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
She's lying.
And what? Shh. If you do that again, I'm
All
just
right.
going to dismiss your case. Do you understand
Yes.
that? And you know, it's
Yeah,
easy.
I got it.
This isn't my case. It's your case.
I know.
So you walked alone to his house. Did you knock at the door? Did you go outside? I want you to tell me exactly what you did.
I don't remember if I went to the front door, if I went to where the pool is, and I do believe Mr. Martin was out there.
Okay, so Mr. Martin was out there, and you said it in that kind of a calm tone?
What happened to my granddaughter? Why is she crying?
Well, she told you why she was crying when she was home. She told you she was crying because she went over there to swim, and Mr. Martin said you can only have one person swim with you.
Which is totally out of character. The children swim together all the time.
You mean at Mr. Martin's
At
pool?
Mr. Martin's pool, and if they need another adult,
Just a second.
I go.
So they swim all the time in Mr. Martin's pool, so you wanted to know what happened on this occasion when he said only one person can swim.
Yes.
And you said it in just the same kind of conversational tone that I'm talking in, is my question.
I was very calm at the beginning, yes.
Oh, okay. And so you said to him what happened, and what did he say to you?
I don't remember exactly. It was to the effect of his son was going to watch them, and he could only have one child in the pool.
Right, that he wanted his son to have responsibility of only watching one other child other than his sister.
Correct.
Right, well, that sounds reasonable.
And that's fine.
Just a second. So how did it escalate? He said, I only wanted one child in here. My son's going to watch the kids. We have to go back to work. And that should have been it. Why wasn't it?
I don't know.
Caption, coming up, Zachary at the diagram.
So I walked back out and looked at the Pathfinder, and that's what I discovered, the scratch across the back. It's bright white, so that indicates it's fresh. I told her while she was standing there, you're going to jail. I'm going to call the police.
Okay, now I'd like to see the video.
Nancy rolls her eyes. A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Zachary and Nancy.
Zachary Martin claims his neighbor, Nancy Morrell, keyed his car and owes for the repairs. Nancy is countersuing for a false arrest and lawyer fees.
Now let's get to your version of what happened. Okay, so you said only one child. Her granddaughter went home. Her granddaughter, who's a little girl, is upset. Why can't I go swimming too? I got that. And?
This is a lie. Everything she told you is a lie.
Just a second.
She did not come to my house.
Just a second.
She did not come to my house.
If you say again it's a lie, I'm going to dismiss your case. Do you understand that?
Yes.
I asked you what happened.
She did not come to my house.
Okay.
Her daughter came to my house.
Just a second. You mean her granddaughter's mother?
Yes. I never talked to her.
Before my daughter went over, I had gone over.
She did not.
Oh, no, just a second. Yeah. Now I don't believe you, Miss Morrell. Now I don't believe you, madam. I watched your eyes. I just watched it. Now uncross your arms. So, her daughter came over first.
No,
Yes.
I
Well,
went
she
over.
never-
I don't want to hear you.
She never came over. The daughter came over. She bypassed my front door and went to the side gate where the pool is. She told my son to go get me.
To go get you?
To go get me. I came out and she called me a jerk. You should let her swim in the pool. Blah. I just told my daughter, look, you can have one friend because your brother's watching you. It's not fair for him now to watch 3 kids. Just 2, that's all. I told her, I said, look, I don't know what you're talking about. I said she could have one friend and that's it. She proceeded to call me a jerk. She said some other choice words I'm not going to repeat, in which case I did cuss her out and told her to get off my property and not to come back again, anybody in her family, or I would file trespass charges.
Okay, and that was on the Sunday before Labor Day?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did this incident happen with your car?
January 22nd.
After that incident on Labor Day weekend, did you have any other contact with the defendant?
Yes.
When?
So I think it was right after Jillian's birthday on November the 21st. I think it was like a week, like December the 1st, I think. And this is really sick, but it got to the situation where she would watch my kid. And every time my kid would go to Aubrey's house or Patrick's house, she would take toys, she would unpack her stuff. And I told her, I said, look, you can't play with her. So they would wait 10 or 15 minutes till she got unpacked and get all comfortable, having a good time. She would send her granddaughter over there. She had to pack her stuff up and come home. She would come home crying many times. So then it got to the point where Patrick, he would come over to our house. He'd be over to our house all the time. They would get on trampoline, play video games, blah, blah, blah. So I was doing something one day, and then the camera went off, and I give me a look at my iPad. Here comes Nancy up my driveway. She knocks on the door, and she says, can we play? And I said, no, you can't play. Get off of my property. File trespass charges if you come back. That was, the last time I interacted with her until she keyed the video.
Well, it's not my job to be judgmental in a social way, but I have to tell you, I would have handled it a little differently with her. She wasn't the one who behaved badly. I wouldn't visit her daughter's bad behavior on an 8-year-old. There are kids who live right around the corner from each other, and it seems to me that the bad behavior of a parent or a grandparent shouldn't impact on a child. The granddaughter is a nice little girl.
Well, if you say so.
Is she?
Well, she spread rumors about my daughter and said that, she told Aubrey that my daughter stole some of her toys, and that was a lie.
Okay. All right, well, it sort of started to get nasty. Now let's get back to the keying of the car. So that happened in January. So tell me about the January incident.
Okay, so she got up January 22nd. It's a Saturday. She decided to walk her dog. She's walked her dog.
Go over there. Show me what you saw.
Okay. Zachary at the diagram.
So she decided to walk her dog, and so she walks up the sidewalk.
Well, you didn't see that.
No, not right here.
No, you didn't see that.
When she gets about right here, which is Patrick's house, The mailbox is right here. You can see in the video. That's when the cameras detect motion. That's when I get the alert. So I see her walking the dog, and she's walked her dog past my house many times, but never gotten that close to my vehicle. So immediately I thought something.
Where was your car?
My car is parked right here.
In the driveway?
Yes, ma'am. So she walks the dogs, and she is right beside the view. I mean, you can see in the video, you can see her right hand go up. So I immediately run out of the house. I have a truck parked right here. I looked at my truck. I thought maybe she did something to the truck. I looked at it, didn't see anything. I went back outside and I said, well, wait a minute, let me go back outside and look at the Pathfinder. So I walked back out and looked at the Pathfinder, and that's what I discovered, the scratch across the back. It's bright white, so that indicates it's fresh. I told her while she was standing there, you're going to jail, I'm gonna call the police.
Okay, step back. When you said to her, you're going to jail, I'm going to call the police, did she respond?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, now I'd like to see the video.
Okay.
Footage of Nancy walking her dog.
You can see as her hand goes up right there.
Nancy disappears behind the vehicle, then emerges and hurries away.
I'll take a look at it again. Is there any reason that you stopped behind his car? Is there any reason?
Stopped to sniff, I stopped with him.
You see her right hand right there.
I'm moving my arm as I walk.
Yes, and that's where the scratch is.
Okay, can I take a look at the photographs of the scratch, please?
Zachary produces photographs, then hands them to Kevin. He brings them to Judy, who reviews an image of a scratch on a vehicle.
Okay, so based upon what you saw, you called the police. And based upon that, the police came, interviewed you, and viewed this tape.
Actually, I had contacted the police after he had yelled at me. He's a little incorrect. Could I show you where?
Sure.
I did walk my dog around here. His cars impede the sidewalk, so I moved. And I had completed my whole route over to about here, and he did indeed come out and yell at me. I caught a few words of it, said I'm walking my dog, waved my arms, and continued on. That's not the first time he has yelled at me as I've been walking, and I went home and I filed an incident report, and I do have that.
Just a second.
The second time I've been walking and he's come out and yelled at me, it's very unnerving.
That's a lie.
We're very far.
Sorry.
It's going to cost you getting your car fixed. It's something you don't understand.
I have it.
Something you don't understand. I'm allowing both of you to tell me your sides of the story. You can't say that's a lie. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not cutting you off. I let you tell me your story, sir. I let you tell me what happened, and I want to give the defendant the same opportunity. You can't interrupt her. Now you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? I will tell you what I don't understand, Miss Morell. You see, if I had got into a kerfuffle with him, which you had, because he said, you and your granddaughter, which I actually think was socially wrong with regard to your granddaughter, but with regard to you, he doesn't want you there, right? I wouldn't walk up a cul-de-sac to go past his house. If it were me, I see plenty of space where you can walk. You can cross the street from your house and walk in the street the other way. And then when you come back, you can walk the other way. You don't have to go inside that cul-de-sac to walk anywhere near his house. That's looking for trouble.
Caption, coming up.
Can I just say something?
About what?
The trend that another gentleman, he tried to accuse of scratching his car.
Are you her husband?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going to let you stand up now, and you're going to show me where he accused somebody else of keying his car in the back in January. Show me.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Zachary and Nancy.
Zachary Martin is accusing his neighbor, Nancy Morell, of keying his car. Nancy is countersuing for a false arrest and lawyer fees.
So you have a counterclaim, and your counterclaim is for false arrest. He didn't arrest you. The police arrested you. And the police arrested you based upon what they believed, after looking at that video, was probable cause that a crime was committed and probable cause to believe you participated in the commission of that crime, which is vandalism. He didn't make a citizen's arrest. The police made an arrest. And not only did they make an arrest, but they were serious enough to have you get a lawyer, Your counsel went in. I assume your new counsel asked for an adjournment. I assume your new counsel, you were there.
I believe so. I was not there, ma'am. I waited out in the hall, and my lawyer represented me.
Fine. So I assume that you knew that your lawyer was going to ask for an adjournment. The lawyer didn't prepare you for trial, did he?
No.
No.
Your Honor.
So he was. I'm not listening to you.
As a witness, can I just say something?
About what?
The trend that another gentleman, he tried to accuse of scratching his car. We have evidence of that.
Just a second. That I'll listen to in a minute.
Okay.
The second time your case was on, did you go into court or did you wait outside?
I waited outside.
Then if you waited outside, you knew again your lawyer was going to ask for an adjournment. The first time the case was on, did you attend the court hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you inside the court?
Yes, ma'am.
She was not there.
She was outside, yes, ma'am.
The second time when the case was adjourned, were you in court?
Yes, ma'am.
Was she there?
Yes, ma'am.
Outside or inside?
She was outside.
Did her lawyer ask for an adjournment?
Continuance.
A continuance?
Yes, ma'am.
Same thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Did it happen more than twice?
Yes.
On the third time you went to court, did you go to court?
Yes, ma'am.
Was she in court?
Yes, ma'am.
Inside or outside?
She was outside, and what happened, I had sold the house, and we moved an hour away.
Just a second. You were there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I'm going to let you stand up now, and you're going to show me where he accused somebody else of keying his car in the back in January. Show me.
Nancy's husband, Jerry, rises.
No.
He tries to approach the bench. Judy waves him back, then Kevin comes and collects a document from him and brings it to her.
Well, this says that on January 18th, which was 4 days before this incident, you reported another vandalism to a Nissan Titan.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the car that you saw her key or believe she keyed?
No, ma'am, that's a different vehicle.
That's what I thought. That's a different vehicle. That has nothing to do with this car.
Well, the gentleman that he accused of, he didn't even have arrested or didn't want to press charges.
Just a second. Okay, so now I'm going to let you stand up, and I'm going to give you my end of the riot act, because if this is what you're deluding yourself with, I'm going to tell you. He didn't have video of anybody on the 18th around his car. In your wife's case, sir, he had prior experience with her. She had no business walking right in front of the house when there are plenty of other places to walk. If they are not on great terms, he had every right to call the police, show them the video, and they had every right to arrest her. Do you understand that?
I understand that, but
Good.
that doesn't
This has
prove
nothing.
that she scratched the vehicle. That doesn't prove that.
Just a second. That's what a trial is for, sir. That was up to a jury. What your wife is suing him for is for false arrest. He didn't arrest her. The police arrested her. Now sit.
Jerry sits.
May I see the invoice? Have you had the car fixed?
Yes, ma'am, I have an estimate, and I also have the police report. where
I'd like to
read
see
her own
both.
words.
I'd like to see both.
Zachary hands documents to Kevin, who brings them to Judy. She reviews them.
So the police officer indicated that after you were told about what the officer saw on the video, you've decided to make no more statements about the incident, and you were placed under arrest for malicious damage. The officer also reported that the scratch on the back of the car was fresh because there were fresh paint chips on the street that were red paint chips. There's a red car that came off that car, which demonstrates to the eyes of any layperson that since there's traffic back and forth there, if there are fresh scratches and fresh paint, it means it just happened. So your counterclaim for false arrest and anything attendant thereto is dismissed.
I did not do it, Your Honor.
Right, okay, maybe. The case was dismissed. That doesn't mean you're entitled to money from him. Police had probable cause to believe that a crime was committed and probable cause to believe that you committed that crime. The rest of it is up to a jury. So you have a beef with the police department, not with him. They had an absolute right to arrest you. I'm not giving you $2,500 for this scratch, sir. Get it out of your mind. Do you understand?
Why not?
It's not a $2,500 scratch.
I mean, that's an estimate from a body shop.
$500. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Nancy, then Zachary.
Well, she was incorrect because I did not do it.
You know, we took an oath when we went inside to tell the truth, and she lied repeatedly, and she got mad at me when I said that's a lie, but it was a lie.
That he saw me walking by and looked at the car and said, oh,
The next day I called the police to see what happened, and he informed me they arrested her.
I thought they were there because I had called about him harassing me, and then all of a sudden they just said, you scratched his car. And I said, no, I didn't.
I think she should have stayed in jail longer.
They placed me in custody.
The lady does nothing but lie. She's a liar.
It was horrible.
In chambers, Judy with Sarah.
I actually thought his behavior when the defendant brought her granddaughter over subsequently and said, can't she play? Because evidently there are 2 or 3 kids who live close by and they always played together. All of a sudden, the granddaughter is excluded from that play. There's a certain amount, as a parent, he should have had some sense of that and said, well, of course they can play, but your daughter owes me an apology. You know, if you're behaving like an adult, your daughter owes me an apology. I tried to do a responsible thing. I didn't want to let my son watch more than one stranger child in a pool, which is absolutely smart because, God forbid, something happened to one of those children, they would certainly turn around and sue him.
Yeah.
So he did the responsible thing. Was it hurtful to the other child? Yes. According to him, his daughter was playing at Patrick's house. She came over and said, you can't come, because they're little children. They don't understand. You can't come. Only one person can come. But you're a grown-up. So understand how that could be hurtful to an 8-year-old. Anyway, I think that they both behaved badly, and he's very smart to have moved out of that.
Out of the cul-de-sac, out of the neighborhood.
Yeah, could you understand why she would walk her dog there?
Yeah, I agreed with you that if you've already had even just a hint of distaste with any of your neighbors, I just walk on the other side of the street, just avoid it. And this seems like a perfectly avoidable house in the cul-de-sac.
You actually have to
go into his loop in order to make the loop. So I don't know. I think both sides questionable, but I'm glad that he got something that you were willing to give him for his car.
Yeah, get your car fixed reasonably, and the police absolutely had a right to arrest her.
Yeah.
There was a complaint. They looked at the complaint. They saw the damage. They saw it was fresh. They saw her right there on the video. They had a history of bad feelings between them. They had an absolute right to arrest her.
Yeah.
Too bad. I feel sorry for the little girl.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to Judy.
You have a daycare center.
Correct.
You found that the baby was bitten by her little one.
Yes, ma'am.
I think are supposed to be separated, correct?
She left out of the room is what she told me, Judge. There's only one me.
It's a big responsibility to take care of little children.
This is Judy. Shanice Grimm is suing her client, Dallas Lee, for child care services, late fees, and property damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Judge Judy enters.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin.
Hello, Judge. Case 2175, Grimm versus Lee.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Miss Grimm, in what state do you live?
Missouri.
In what county?
Jackson.
You have a daycare center.
An in-home child care, yes.
For how long?
I started September of 2022.
What is your house like?
I have a single-family home with a finished basement and then like an attic type. It's 2 bedrooms.
House has 2 bedrooms?
No, up in the attic has 2 bedrooms. It's technically a 3-bedroom house, but it has made 6 rooms.
And how many children do you have?
I currently have 7.
How old are they?
14, 13, 11, 8, 5, and 3, and 1, 18 months.
3 and 18 months.
I'm sorry, she's 4 now. She just turned 4.
So the older ones go to school. Does the 5-year-old go to school?
Yes.
And the 8-year-old goes to school?
Correct.
So you have 2 little ones at home?
My 4-year-old goes to early childhood, half a day.
So you have 1 child at home during the day?
Correct.
And 1 half a day?
Yes.
And you have 3 children?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are they?
I now have a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and a 5-month-old.
And those were the children that you enrolled in her daycare center?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Grimm, what kind of licensing do you have, an application that do you have to make in order to run an in-home daycare center in Missouri?
So in the state of Missouri, as long as you have under 6 children, you do not have to have a license.
As long as you have 6 children in total in the house, or 6 children
that I'm watching?
That you're watching?
Correct. Because my school children are not considered watching, like under the law.
Well, you certainly have to watch your 18-month-old.
Yes, he's the only one. That's why I've always kept 5 children or less.
It is your claim that Miss Lee entered her children into your program. She paid you for a certain period of time. She owes you for 2 weeks.
Correct.
And were those 2 weeks that her children were actually in care?
Correct.
Which 2 weeks were those?
They are the last 2 weeks of October.
Of 2022?
Correct.
And the children were in your program?
Correct.
Miss Lee, were the children in Miss Grimm's program the last 2 weeks in October?
Yes, ma'am, they were.
Did you pay her for the last 2 weeks in October?
No, ma'am, I did not.
How much were you supposed to pay her?
For the last 2 weeks was supposed to be $600 because our agreement was $600 every 2 weeks.
Okay, so it was supposed to be $600.
Yes, ma'am.
So now the ball is in your court so far. Ms. Grimm, we're not talking about a late fee. We're just talking about these 2 weeks.
Correct.
First, tell me your reason for removing the children.
I removed my children out of her care because my children, every time that I picked them up, it was either they were harmed or injured, or my son, my 3-year-old, would tell me something had happened while I was gone at work in her care. My son had told me on numerous accounts that she hit him herself, and then he also told me that her 15-year-old son, or 14, I'm sorry, had also spanked him. And when I did ask him, or I asked her actually, I said, "Who is Trey?" Because he said, "Mommy, Trey hit me. We were getting in the car." They normally do help me get in the car with my 3 children, seeing I have one who's barely walking.
You get going all over the place.
Yes, ma'am. So they normally help me get in the car with my children, so they were outside with us. And my son said, "Mommy, Trey hit me like this." I didn't know any Trey, so I asked her, "Who is Trey?" And she said, "That's my son." And he said, "That's me." He was standing right there next to her. He said, "I'm Trey." And I said, "Bryson said that you hit him." And he said, "Yes, I hit Bryson." He said, "I popped him because Bryson wasn't doing right. Bryson didn't want to go to timeout."
On what day was that?
That was on October 25th.
And what was the last day that your children attended?
October 27th.
Okay, so despite the fact that Trey, your Trey?
Yes, ma'am.
Slapped the 3-year-old, said that he slapped the 3-year-old, you let him stay there for an extra 2 days.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a yes. Now, where were you working that you had your children in daycare?
I was working as a CNA.
What is that?
A certified nurse's assistant.
Where?
It's a
nursing home?
rehab. Yes, ma'am.
When did you start working there?
I started working there in September.
September of 2022?
Yes, ma'am.
Beginning of September?
Yes, ma'am.
And when did you stop working there?
I stopped working there October 27th. That was my last day.
If I were to call, would they tell me that they terminated you or you quit?
I quit.
Did you quit on the 27th?
Yes, ma'am.
And what about now? Are you working?
I am.
Who are you working for?
I work through a temp agency, working per diem at different locations as a CNA.
And who takes care of your children?
My stepmom. My children,
Just a second. And when did you start that job?
I started that job about 4 weeks ago.
So in December?
Yes, ma'am. Late November or so.
Caption, coming up.
You left the children there until the end of October. It couldn't have been so disturbing for you, madam, to leave the children there until the end of October, another 6 weeks, if you felt as if they weren't getting adequate care. And if you did, that would be on you.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Shanice and Dallas.
Shanice Grimm claims her client, Dallas Lee, refused to pay for child care services. Dallas is countersuing for lost wages and emotional distress.
So a relative has been taking care of your children?
Yes, ma'am. Not all 3 of them. I had to send my 2 sons because I had to rearrange my daycare situation. I had to send them back to Texas to be with their dad.
So 2 of them went back to their father?
Yes, ma'am.
And who do you live with here?
I live with my dad.
What does he do?
My dad is a nuclear medicine technologist.
So your stepmom takes care of one of the children.
My 5-month-old daughter, yes, ma'am.
Who's in the house. Now you're going to tell me why you didn't pay her for the last 2 weeks.
So my children began in her care September 12th. September 13th, she sent me a text message while I was at work, and she said, "I want to let you know, Lil Mama was bit today by my 1-year-old on her cheek." She sent me a picture. I have this.
Not interested. I mean, it's not that I'm disinterested. It's that don't show me anything from September, madam. You kept your children with her into October and through the end of October. And if anything was so concerning to you that you thought your children would be at risk, I'm certain that you would have discussed it with your father, and your father would have said to you, "Don't speak." And your father would have said to you, if you have a problem with the children, don't let them stay there. What you did Okay, I can see that you're dying to tell me something. What?
Yes, ma'am.
Dallas's father, Gary.
My daughter had no other choice but to keep her children in care because I work a full-time job.
Let me explain something to you, sir. Your daughter was living with you?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. There is always an alternative, sir. I have young grandchildren, and I would say if I was legitimately concerned for their health and safety, I don't care what it is, stay home and take care of your children. You'll have a roof over your head until you find appropriate daycare. And if you didn't do that, then you're not much of a grandfather.
Well,
you can't use something that happened in September or early October to say, well, that's why I didn't pay the last 2 weeks. So you can't make excuses, sir. I'm telling you, I'm a grandmother and I've had little children. I don't care what you had to do. Quit my job, whatever that job is, and say, we'll all stay home and take care of the children until you find, or you stay home and take care of the children. I'll provide you with whatever basics you need until you get the right daycare. And if you didn't do that, don't tell me that your daughter didn't have a choice. There is always a choice when your babies are concerned.
In our estimation at that time, we were giving her some hard life lessons because she does now have 3 children, and there are going to be some difficulties in this living situation. There are going to be some things. So what we're doing, we're giving her some tough love and saying, hey, you cannot give up just because the chips are down or because things happen. You have to try to figure things out.
Well, that would be on you. That's not on her. This is not her daughter. It's your daughter.
Absolutely.
And your grandchildren, sir.
Absolutely.
And if you want to teach her some real hard lessons and say, you got to stay with the daycare, even though you're dissatisfied.
We said give her a chance because it was the first day.
So.
It was the first incident, first day. We said give her a chance. Things happen sometimes.
What I don't want to hear is from you, who seem like a very intelligent man, a working man, is my daughter had no choice. Your daughter has a choice. Her choice is to say to you, Dad, please, I have to find the right daycare. I have to stop working at this job. I may need a month. You may not have liked her previous irresponsible behavior, right?
Correct.
But the deed is done. She got 3 young children.
Beautiful children.
Right? So what you do is when you have 3 young, beautiful children, you protect them.
Absolutely.
And if you're not smart enough to protect them yourself, you got to rely on your father who's smart enough to do that. What I'm saying to you is your daughter used this lady's services and she has to pay for it. She may not send her children back, but your statement that you were so anxious to make to me, which is my daughter had no choice, she did have a choice, sir. She did have a choice. Before I would let my children stay in a place where I actually believed that they were being abused, because that's what she's suggesting. I mean, she's not suggesting that this young man, who I'm not condoning hitting a 3-year-old, gave him a slap on the rear end. I'm not condoning that. But there were no injuries to him. I don't know whether you've done it. I don't know whether she's done it to her child. You certainly don't want a daycare provider's child to discipline a 3-year-old.
Absolutely.
That's not what it's about.
But after the first incident, what we were trying to teach her is that you don't just throw in the towel, because Ms. Graham was just starting her service up. And
September 5th.
So we understand that there are going to be some hiccups and some things that she has to fix as she comes across them. And so she's a young lady. My daughter's a young lady. So as an older man, I'm trying to support 2 individuals to build their lives up. And so I told my daughter, I don't like that she was bitten, but at least she came forward very quickly and told you, so leave them there for now. And if anything else transpires, then we can start to look at things then. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Who do you work for, sir?
I work for the Veterans Administration.
And how long have you worked for the Veterans Administration?
21 years.
Do you get paid every 2 weeks?
Yes, ma'am.
Let's say your boss at the VA all of a sudden decided they didn't like the work you were doing. And you left and they owed you 2 weeks' pay because you had actually worked for the 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
And you sued them for those 2 weeks. You worked there. You said, well, we didn't like the quality of his work for those 2 weeks. Well, then you fire him, but you pay him. It's like going to a restaurant. My favorite analogy is you go into your favorite restaurant where you get a steak. And you order a steak, medium, Pittsburgh medium. Steak comes, you cut into it, you take a bite. Oh my God, you say, I don't like the way this tastes. You take the plate, you spit out the bite if you're smart, call the waiter over and say, this is a bad steak, right?
Absolutely.
And the waiter takes it off the bill or you order something else. Now you cut into that same steak, you taste, you say, this tastes terrible. Maybe the next bite will taste better. Before you know it, you've finished the whole steak. Waiter comes over to take your clean plate. You say, the steak was awful. I didn't like it. It was bad. Well, what'd you eat it for? But if you ate the steak, you got to pay for it. If you take a bite and say it's no good, I'm in your corner. Send it back. But your daughter ate the steak. She used her services for 2 weeks and didn't pay her.
Well, we can't say that she used her services because there are other pieces of evidence that we have.
Well, you mean you're talking about that sometimes she left the children with her husband?
Yes.
Yeah. Baloney. Your daughter had the benefit of daycare so that she could work.
Gary shrugs. Caption coming up.
If you're not satisfied with the service, you stop using the service. If you continue to use the service despite the fact that you're not satisfied with it, you gotta pay for it. That's America. You got paid, your father got paid, she gets paid.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Shanice and Dallas.
Shanice Grimm has accused her client, Dallas Lee, of refusing to pay for child care services. Dallas claims Shanice wrongfully disciplined and neglected her children.
Your daughter had the benefit of daycare so that she could work.
Absolutely.
And she had the benefit of daycare from this lady that enabled your daughter to make money.
But if we're talking breach of contract, the contract was breached when the husband watched the child. And
now you're not teaching your daughter responsibility. Now you're making excuses. Now you're not teaching your daughter responsibility. Your daughter worked to make money. You worked those last 2 weeks, didn't stay home with your grandchildren. You made money.
Absolutely.
The only one that didn't make money and had her 3 children for those 2 weeks was the plaintiff. She ate the steak. She used the service. She didn't have anybody else. It's not as if, well, I had to hire somebody else to take care of the kids the last 2 weeks, even though it was in my deal. So that's why I'm not paying them. She worked, you worked, she worked. And if her husband, if she ran out to the store and left her husband, unless you're telling me that that was such a breach of the agreement that your daughter took the children out of her program. Did she? No, she did not. She didn't say, I'm not allowing your husband to take care of my children, even if it's just for an hour. I'm taking my children out of the program. Dad, can you help me out for the next couple of weeks until I find something else? But you can't eat the steak, which she did. Now you can sit down.
Can I say one more thing?
Not if you want to continue to look foolish. Now you're not teaching her responsibility.
Well,
now you're not teaching her responsibility. I don't want to have to teach you responsibility.
Well, you don't have to. I'm a veteran. I know what responsibility is. But when you are promoting your program as one thing, but your service is another, I cannot say that if Bobby Flay is cooking the steak.
It doesn't matter who was cooking the steak. It was whether you ate the steak. It's whether you ate the steak.
I get what you're saying, Judge. But if it's promoted as Bobby Flay cooking it and Bob Berger cooked it, and I don't like the taste, then those are two different things.
Oh, no, sir. If you're promoting Bobby Flay as cooking the steak and you find, or the hamburger, and you find out that Bobby Flay's younger brother was cooking the steak or was cooking the burger, and either way, if the burger is no good, you're not going to eat it. But you can't eat it and say, well, I really thought I was getting a Bobby Flay hamburger, and I didn't get a Bobby Flay hamburger, so I'm not going to pay for it, even though I ate it. Now you can sit down. How much is 2 weeks' worth of care? $600?
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff, $600. You have a counterclaim. Counterclaim is ridiculous. Money owed for lost wages, emotional distress on behalf of the children. You shouldn't have emotional distress on behalf of the children, madam. You're their mother. The first time you had an inkling that you felt that your children, your young children, were being neglected in the plaintiff's care, what you should have done was remove them. Remove them. First time you felt as if 3-year-old shouldn't have been subject of a slap by this young man? Great. Remove them. You found that the baby, the little one, was bitten by her little one. You say, that's not watching them carefully enough, because they, I think, are supposed to be separated, correct?
Yes.
No, we were all in one room, so they weren't having to be separated, because with me only having less than 4 children, there was no way of separating because there was only one me.
It's a big responsibility to take care of little children.
Correct.
My daughter shouldn't have been in his reach. She did tell me that she left out of the room.
I agree with you.
She left out of the room is what she told me, Judge. So that's actually not true. She told me that she left out of the room and went to the kitchen.
What day? Give me the date that happened.
September 13th.
You left the children there until the end of October. It couldn't have been so disturbing for you, madam, to leave the children there until the end of October, another 6 weeks, if you felt as if they weren't getting adequate care. And if you did, that would be on you. And maybe a little bit on your father. Because if you told him about it, said, oh my God, that's terrible. Take my child out right away. All three of them. But you didn't. You left them in there September 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, all the way up until the end of September and the end of October. That's on you.
Actually, she did not have them in the end of September because she was suspended from her job. So they were gone for 2 weeks in September.
Were you suspended from your job?
I was. I had to...
That's my question. You were suspended from your job. When you were suspended from your job, did you take the children out of daycare?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that's reasonable. She didn't give you a problem with that, I assume.
No.
And you didn't pay for those 2 weeks?
I did not.
Great. Well, these 2 weeks you're going to pay for. Because
I don't believe I owe her anything.
I don't care what you believe. If you're not listening to what I'm saying to you and you're fixed in your opinion, that means you haven't learned anything. Your father tried to teach you a little bit of tough love? What I'm telling you is, if you work, you get paid. If you're not satisfied with the service, you stop using the service. If you continue to use the service despite the fact that you're not satisfied with it, you gotta pay for it. That's America. You got paid, your father got paid, she gets paid. She didn't get paid for the 2 weeks you took your kids out. Didn't say to you, well, you have to pay me anyway. I have to keep this open for you. That was very fair. Took the kids out, didn't pay. You left your kids in, you pay $600. You count the claims dismissed. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Dallas, then Shanice.
I am a little upset she didn't see things my way.
The judge was kind of in my favor for the majority of it.
You know, her leaving my children in the care of her 15-year-old son and also her husband.
And why did she continue bringing her children to me for another month?
Also, my son letting me know that, you know, she hit him.
I have never touched her children. I could take a lie detector test to prove it.
It was pretty difficult for me because I didn't have any other choices. I didn't have anyone else who could help me with keeping all three of my children while I work.
She actually never gave me excuses. She actually just told me she was going to pay me.
Life is not easy.
If you work, you should get paid.
But you get back up and you keep moving.
Sarah and Judy.
My generation, I'm not sure about yours, I haven't had much experience in yours, but in mine, I think we confuse having to make a hard choice with being out of options. Here, I felt for the defendant. She had to make a hard choice. But even when her father came up and felt the need to burst out and say, my daughter had no options, she had no choice. Well, she did have a choice. It was a hard choice. You had to send your 2 older sons to live with their father and find a sort of mediocre, at best, childcare situation. But you made the choice to have those 3 children. And when you have children, you make a commitment to make the hard choices to benefit them.
In their best interest.
In their best interest. And if you're not prepared to do that, then you shouldn't become a parent.
In any event, I tried to make my steak analogy. It didn't.
I thought it was great. Okay. I had a great time.
Great. I'm glad you
I thought
did.
it was a good lesson.
Thank you.
Title, Judy Justice.
Want justice? Go to judyjustice.tv.
You asked your father if you could move back in.
Yes.
She was ultimately evicted.
I told her I would do it. I don't think she believed me.
Her behavior changed. She can be very nice, but there's a whole nother side that is actually very scary. We were afraid of her.
This is Judy Justice. 19-year-old Isabel Irwin is suing her father, Neil Irwin, for personal belongings.
Judy enters.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Kevin.
Case number 27, Irwin versus Irwin.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Irwin, this is your dad?
Yes, he is.
And you're 19?
Yes, I am.
According to what I read in your complaint, your parents divorced when you were 10.
Yes.
And your father was your primary custodian. You lived with him.
Yes, I did.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yes, I did.
When you were 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16, did you live with your father?
At the age of 15, I moved out because...
Okay, so at age 15, you moved out?
Yes.
Because here you said, when I was 18, my father kicked me out of the house for no good reason.
Yes.
Guess what? Well, you just told me that you left the house when you were 15.
Yes, and I lived with my mother for 2 years, and...
Okay, so from age 15 to 17, you lived with your mother.
Yes.
Is that because you were having difficulty with your father?
Yes.
Okay, and then you went to live with your mother.
Yes.
But that didn't last.
No.
So now, at 17, you go back to your father.
Yes.
And you stayed with him until you were 18.
Yes, correct.
So far, I have the fact that your family is a little dysfunctional, but that you had certain problems.
So I moved out when I was 18.
Just a second. Would that be a fair statement, that you had some problems?
No, it would not be.
Okay. What high school did you graduate from?
It's a school partnered with the National Guard for kids that are off track to get them back on track.
Did you have to pay for that school?
No, they are paid by the government.
Could you look them up for me?
Yeah, it's a residential program for youths aged 16 to 18 who've dropped out of school or who are seriously behind in credits and need to catch up quickly.
Okay, so you were dropped out of school?
No.
Or seriously behind?
Yes.
Dropped out or behind in credits.
Okay. And how old were you when you graduated from?
I was 17 years old.
And so at that point, you moved in with your father?
Yes.
And why did you leave when you were 18?
He had evicted me.
Okay. And I'd like you to tell me your version of his evicting you when you were 18, because this case involves you're suing your father for items that he disposed of that were yours, and you want this court to award you $7,400 for the things that he disposed of that were yours.
Yes.
Okay. So tell me why you believe he evicted you when you were 18.
I believe he evicted me when I was 18 because I was buying my first car and he got jealous of the car I had, and he stated that when I moved back in for the second time. He evicted me the second.
No. We're on the first time that your father evicted you, not the second time. The first time your father evicted you, I can ask him, or you want me to stay with you?
You can ask him.
Fine. Tell me why you evicted her the first time, which you did.
The main reasons would be that she agreed to pay rent, which she never did. She needed
working?
Off and on. I'd say over the past 2 years, she's probably had, from my guesstimate, 15 to 20 jobs, all ranging from an hour or a day, I think the longest being about 3 months. Can't maintain a job, would prefer to smoke pot all day in her room and hang out with her boyfriend, basically. Which at the time, for the first eviction, she did not know Corey.
Okay.
But she still does the same thing.
Yeah, well, that's unfortunate. That's what you indicate here. So that was the reason that you evicted her the first time. And that was maybe in June?
I would have filed that June 9th of 2021.
June. Okay. But she came back shortly thereafter, in October.
The sheriffs removed her August 13th, 2021.
Is that because you asked her to leave and she wouldn't?
It's a three-step process. And I had a 24-hour notice posted to the door after 34 days.
Well, she's your daughter.
Yeah.
So there must have been some discussion, Mr. Irwin, with her. You saying to her, listen, this is not working out.
There wasn't a discussion, Your Honor.
Was not?
I served her the first notice. We talked about it.
Oh, you talked about it?
Prior to me filing. I told her I would do it. I don't think she believed me.
She knew you wanted her to leave as a result of that discussion?
Yes.
And she didn't?
She did not.
She had lived with you off and on, with the exception of 2 years that she lived with her mother, and part of it in a residential program. It's a residential program, correct?
Yes.
When she lived with you, she was 10 years old. Can you tell me, Mr. Irwin, from the time she was 10 until the time she was 18 and she was ultimately evicted, what items in the house she purchased? Bed, TVs, anything big?
She never purchased anything.
When she came back from her mother, what did she come back with?
I believe just a few clothes and a bag. She had to kind of run back.
And to the best of your knowledge, had your daughter maintained any sort of gainful employment the last 3 years?
No.
So other than the clothes she came back with when she was 17, there were no big-ticket items?
There were a few by the time I had to evict her the second time, but I would have furnished those, being, bed set, furniture,
bed.
Tempur-Pedic bed. I think that's part of what she's really wanting out of this $7,400.
Okay, so you purchased a bed?
Yes.
Because you didn't have one in the room where she was?
I was just trying to take care, yeah. I was using the room for my own purposes. I live alone until she moved back in, and usually welcoming of my daughter coming home, so I furnished a room.
Okay, so that's why you left the first time. The first time you left because he got annoyed that you were hanging around doing nothing and smoking pot.
I did pay rent,
right.
too.
Right.
No,
and weren't doing it much.
No, I was not smoking often.
We're not doing much, is what I said.
Yes, I had a job. I worked at the beginning of the year.
For how many days?
I worked there for about 3 months, and then I worked as a kennel technician for about 2 months.
What happened to both those jobs?
My dad, his alcoholism, he would never let me sleep in the room as I was paying rent, and he would lock me out. He would lock me out.
Okay.
He would lock me out and he would flip the garage switch, so I wasn't able to get access to the house. I wasn't able to get clean, so I couldn't obtain the job, and my mental health wasn't there for that job, so that's why I took the kennel technician job, and that's when he evicted me.
Where are you living now?
With my boyfriend.
That's him?
Yes.
And where are you working now?
I am unemployed.
Sorry, that's easy. So now you're not working. Now nobody's locked you out. Nobody's made it impossible for you to work. And what kind of work does your boyfriend do?
He is construction. I do DoorDash.
Okay. Your boyfriend is construction?
Yes.
How old is he?
He is 20 years old.
Judy gestures for a young man to rise.
You're Corey?
Yes, Your Honor.
Who do you live with?
My mom and her new husband.
How did I know that? How did I just know that? It's so perfect to be old that, I mean, I asked the questions. I could have asked the questions and answered the questions. So you and your girlfriend live with your mother?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what's the name of the company that you work for?
Landscape.
Do you work for them full time?
Yes, I do.
For how long?
I've been working for them about 2 months now.
2 months?
Yes.
Prior to that, what did you do?
I worked for Chewy.
Chewy, the dog products?
Yes, Your Honor.
What happened to that job?
I just wasn't liking the job anymore, and I thought I could do a lot harder work, and that's what I strive to do, is just continue trying to be the best person I can.
And what does your girlfriend do all day when you're out in your landscaping job for the last 2 months?
She stays busy going to the gym and making sure that everything is in tip-top shape, and just bringing me lunch when I'm on my break for work.
And you're living in your mom's house. Be a fair statement. You don't have to be a math wizard, which I am not, because you don't have enough money to move out into your own place.
Yes, Your Honor.
Does your mom work?
Yes, she does.
Who else lives in the house?
Her newly husband.
Now, you have a room in your mom's house?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is it furnished?
Yes, Your Honor.
Who bought the furniture?
I bought the bed set, and
Tell me when you bought the bed set.
I bought it about 2 years ago because we moved there recently.
So what you're telling me is you purchased a new mattress?
Yes.
With your earnings?
Yes, Your Honor.
And how much was it?
It was about $1,500.
And if you left the house, you would want to take your mattress because you bought it.
Yes, Your Honor.
You wouldn't take any of the other furniture in the house because you didn't buy it.
Yes, correct.
Whether it's your dresser or a TV in your room, your parents bought that.
Yeah.
The mattress you bought.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now you can sit.
Corey sits. Caption coming up.
Show me that you gave him $3,000. I can't figure that you had saved $3,000.
I gave him that to purchase the mattress because that was the time I was purchasing my car.
How could you purchase a car? You don't work.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Isabel and Neil.
19-year-old Isabel Irwin claims her father, Neil Irwin, owes for personal belongings.
Now, I'm going to sort of pull this together. Eventually, you moved back into the house after an initial eviction, and you weren't doing well, I assume.
Yes.
And then you came back a couple of months later and asked your father if you could move back in.
Yes.
And he said, okay.
Yes.
And that didn't work out. He was unhappy with the arrangement.
I was paying rent before. He was kicking me out, so I decided not to pay rent.
Whatever the reason, he wasn't happy with it. You were gone for a couple of months.
He evicted me, yes.
Yes. Well, he evicted you for a reason, Miss Irwin. You have to stop being a baby. He evicted you for a reason. He took you back because you went there. You said, I have no place to go. I assume, without going into specifics, because you look a little frightened, and I don't have to get that crazed with you because it sounds like a very sad situation. He said, it's not working out again. I want you to leave. And when you left, you did not, according to you, take your stuff. And your father, at some point after he received a text message from you, which I assume you have, sir?
I do.
Which said, have a nice life. After he received that, waited a while and disposed.
That was a statement I made because I asked him to help me fill up my tires because they needed air, and I saw him pull into the Safeway parking lot and leave with his groceries, and he never helped me.
Okay, so you said have a nice life. And then you want a whole bunch of things from the house. Now, I want you to tell me, with your limited work history, which you have, hardly enough to sustain yourself, because in October you came back to him and said, I need a place to live. So I want you to tell me what you purchased.
I purchased the Tempur-Pedic bed.
And who did you purchase it from?
My father.
You purchased it from your father?
Yes, he made the original purchase and said I could just give him the money, which I did.
Okay. And how much did you give him for the mattress?
$3,000.
That's incorrect.
Show me that you gave him $3,000. I can't figure that you had saved $3,000.
I gave him that to purchase the mattress because that was the time I was purchasing my car.
How could you purchase a car? You don't work. You don't work.
Isabel hands a document to Kevin, who brings it to Judy. She reviews it.
The first one
This
was
doesn't tell me anything.
Transaction that
This doesn't tell me anything. You want to tell me that tells me nothing. You want to give that to her. I would have to find credible, Miss Irwin, that you had managed to save from your job that you had for 3 months while you claim you were paying your father rent $3,000.
It was the leftover money from me purchasing my car.
Oh, I don't believe that. For 1 second. Okay, you want to tell me about the mattress, sir?
Okay, simply put, I got one for myself when she wasn't living with me, and the mattress I furnished her with, it was a floor model. He gave me a good deal on it. I think it retails about $3,500. I got it for $2,300. My daughter and I did have an agreement that she could purchase the mattress for $1,800. However, as you may have figured out, that did not occur.
And this was after she moved back in October, or when she was...
Yep, yes it was.
After she moved back in October?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. The mattress is staying where it is. Okay. Now let's go to dresser, nightstand, and TV. So you acknowledge that none of those things you purchased, bed, dresser, nightstand, and TV.
No, I did not purchase that.
Okay. Now that's your father's. He threw out my clothes, shoes, and jewelry. Now, you were evicted.
Yes.
Was it an actual eviction? Did marshals come to the house?
No. I got served the eviction notice on June 30th. He illegally locked me out.
No. Just June 30th.
Yes.
So on June 30th, you were given an eviction notice that said that you had to be out on what date?
In 30 days.
Okay. So far, is that correct, Mr. Irwin?
It's fairly correct. I do have the 30-day no-cause notice to quit that she was served.
Okay. And on what date did you leave?
On July 1st, because he had thrown a camera
Just a
at
second.
my boyfriend.
You left on July 1st?
Yes.
Tell me how you left.
I packed a small bag, and I had left.
You packed a small bag that contained what?
A few of my clothes and whatever I could grab for a few nights.
And where did you go?
To my boyfriend's house.
So you went to Corey's house?
Yes.
Do you have a laptop?
I do not.
Do you have a phone?
Yes, I do.
Did you take the phone?
Yes, I did.
You took some clothes with you, and you knew that you had an eviction notice, correct?
Yes.
Tell me what jewelry you allege your father threw out.
He threw out my necklace my boyfriend had bought me. He threw out...
Which boyfriend?
This boyfriend, Corey.
Tell me about the necklace.
He had purchased it for my birthday.
Okay. Stand up, Corey. Tell me about the necklace you purchased.
I had purchased it from K Jewelers. I had purchased it for about $250.
Okay. When?
On her birthday, just a little before.
When's her birthday?
February 20th.
Did she wear the necklace?
Yes, Your Honor.
Every day?
No, just on occasions, whenever we'd go out and do stuff and all that.
When she came to your house with her bag, did you ever see the necklace again?
No, I did not, Your Honor.
Do you know where this necklace is?
I do not.
Did you throw away a necklace?
I guess anything's possible because when she left and sent me the "have a nice rest of your life" text, it looked like a hoarder's room, so I guess anything could have been in there.
Who cleaned it up?
I did.
Didn't see a necklace?
Didn't see a necklace.
Okay. Were you looking for anything of value?
I wasn't looking for anything. To me, it looked like old clothes that probably hadn't been worn in years.
Okay.
I just wanted to clear out the room.
Fine. Have a seat. Other than that necklace, what other jewelry did you have?
I had some rings I purchased from Ojai, California on a trip I previously took for my dad.
Okay. What else? You took a bag of clothes. What specific, because you had jewelry, shoes. I assume you took some shoes with you because you were going to be there.
Not.
Well, you were wearing a pair of shoes.
Yes, I was. I was wearing my old shoes.
Okay. When you got rid of all of the stuff, Mr. Irwin, you didn't go through any of it?
No, I did not.
Did you give her any notice that she had 10 days, 2 weeks to get her stuff?
I did not give her notice.
On what date did you dispose of all of her stuff?
It would have been around July 20th, about 20 days after or so.
Okay, well, but even according to your eviction notice, she had 30 days to vacate.
Well, if you read the actual eviction notice, it's 5 days. After 5 days, you have to file another part of the eviction notice, which is unlawful detainer, meaning that she is now there illegally. So she left within the 5 days, willfully.
Caption, coming up.
I'm 19 years old, and I want to live to be 79. And right now, that doesn't look good for you. I'm telling you, you look troubled and older than your years.
A courthouse. The Judy Justice logo appears. In the courtroom, Isabel and Neil.
19-year-old Isabel Irwin has accused her father, Neil Irwin, of throwing out her personal property. Neil claims he paid for Isabel's belongings.
Okay, so you didn't file the next step.
I did not.
So she left within 5 days. That was the
Yes.
agreement. And she just left the place a mess.
A mess, yes.
Okay, who is this?
This is my mother, Janice Leonard.
Could you stand up, please, for a moment? Miss Leonard, how many grandkids do you have?
Well, from Neil to I have 6.
Did you and Miss Irwin get along?
Oh, yes. She came to, we lived in Idaho at the time. I had an equestrian center. So every summer she would be there all summer long. We taught her to ride. She had the best horses. She jumped. She was a fantastic rider. But as the years went on, it was just getting more difficult. When she turned 14, her behavior changed drastically.
Can you describe, I know that you moved back to where your son lived. And according to the answer, he gave you a key to the house. He was in Las Vegas on a trip.
That's correct.
Could you describe when you went into the house what Miss Irwin's room looked like?
Every time I would go over there, the house would be worse every single day. And there was a very strong, pungent smell, so I thought the dogs were going to the bathroom. Her room was a total disaster. There's clothes literally strewn, I don't know how tall, but 12 inches maybe. Nothing was ever picked up. And one day, before Neil came back, I said, this place is really smelling bad. And later I learned that they were smoking marijuana. They would be in the bedroom and giggling and in the bathroom together. And when I would come, she'd only be there for maybe 20 minutes and they both would leave. There was no respect, I have to say. I've seen her in action and she can be very nice and very polite, but there's a whole nother side that is actually very scary, to the point when she was years ago, 14, my husband and I were locking our bedroom door because we were afraid of her when she stayed.
Okay, thank you. Isabel, is that what they call you, or they have a
Yes.
Isabel. Word of advice, caution, you're 19?
Yes.
You look older. That's not a compliment. You seem like an intelligent young woman.
Thank you.
But I see issues there of blaming everyone else, and it's very possible that your father and your mother and other people share the blame in your issues. That's possible. But at this point in your life, Isabel, you're just starting, and you can either spend your life blaming somebody else, parent, grandparents, siblings, for where you are, or you can say, I have to get myself some help, and put a period, because I'm 19 years old, and I want to live to be 79. And right now, that doesn't look good for you. I'm telling you, you look troubled and older than your years. Your father looks better. Your grandmother looks better. They look appropriate to their age and stage and clearer. So I think that you should get some help. I also think, Mr. Irwin, there were things in her room, and believe me, I have seen rooms like that. You know, I have been involved with lots of kids and grandchildren. Most of them grow up, and once they get a place of their own, they walk around with a bottle of Windex and Bounty and clean up after everybody's fingerprints. But if they're living in their parents' house or their grandparents' house, they live like slobs. Sometimes that never changes. But, you know, there's messy, and then there is dysfunctional. And what you are describing is dysfunctional. And I think if your daughter was honest, she would look and she would say, that's dysfunctional. You were in the room, Corey?
Yes, Your Honor.
Stand up. Would you describe your girlfriend's room in her father's house as evidence of being dysfunctional? Not a right here, Corey.
Okay.
Does her room look like your room?
No, it does not, Your Honor.
Would your mother permit your room to look like her room? Is not an answer, Corey. Would your mother permit your room that you're sharing to look like the room that was in his house where your girlfriend lived and you stayed occasionally?
No, Your Honor.
No. Okay, sit down. You should have looked for the necklace. He gave me an honest answer to everything that I asked him. So the necklaces was probably mixed in with a load of garbage that was there.
To say the least.
That was accumulated. It was like a hoarder. So I'm
Your
awarding
Honor,
you.
I
and
have a
you give
video
it to
of
your
the
boyfriend.
room.
$250 to go and buy her a new necklace. Thank you very much. This case is over.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
Outside the courtroom, Neil, then Isabel.
I agree with the judge's decision 100%. I think it was very fair.
I think it wasn't fair.
She has so much more potential than what she's doing right now.
I was just trying to get my belongings, and he literally just never wanted me to do it.
She's a great kid, and all reality, she's just making some wrong decisions right now.
I made any really bad decisions. It's all been influenced by my father. You know, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
I hope she grows up, and I love her.
I know I need to grow up, but he evicted me, gave me 2 days, and I didn't want to make my dad mad.
Sarah and Judy.
I hope you weren't talking about me when you were thinking of your grandchildren keeping messy rooms. I try and be neat and nice and organized.
Well, I wasn't thinking about you today as a law school graduate, but I do remember when you were in college and you were staying with us rather than in the dorm, keeping your door closed because it looked like somebody hit your room with a Mixmaster.
Maybe just a few too many open suitcases, I guess.
Yeah, open, unpacked suitcases. But got older and more respectful, and then you had your own apartment, and I remember visiting your apartment, and I said, who is it that lives here? I couldn't figure out who lived here. It's not the same person who lived with me.
It's a maturity thing, and I think I was shocked to see that she was only 19 years old, in line with what you said to her, that she looks older beyond her years, and some difficulty can do that to you, but you have to take accountability and do what you can to make your life organized and set yourself up for success.
That, you know, all that is true. I'm not sure that she has all the tools to do that, and I don't know if she has anybody there to guide her. It's too bad because she seems like an intelligent young woman, and her grandmother certainly portrayed a picture of a child who was accomplished when she was younger, and then something happened. You know.
I hope she turns it around.
Hope she turns it around. I hope it's not other issues.
Title, Judy Justice.
Are you having a family dispute? Go to judyjustice.tv.
সেটা করো আর ম্যাচ কিন্তু এটা ভুইয়ে নেব আমরা দেখো কিভাবে ভুইয়ে নেই
হ্যালো মুকুল ভাই কি অবস্থা কেমন আছেন
এই তো ভালো কি খবর
এই তো আলহামদুলিল্লাহ ভালো
কি করতেছো
ওই তো ভাই একটু বাইরে আছে ঢুকলাম দেখলাম আপনি আছেন এই সানি কি অবস্থা
এই তো ভাই আপনার কি অবস্থা
হ্যালো
হ্যালো ব্রাদার